Understanding people quickly is a skill that can change your life. Imagine being able to see past what someone says and really know what they feel, what drives them, and why they act the way they do. This ability makes every conversation clearer and every relationship stronger. It helps you avoid misunderstandings, connect deeply, and handle difficult moments with ease. But it's not about guessing or mind reading. It's about learning simple ways to notice and respond to what others are really saying, even when their words don't tell the whole story. This guide will walk you through practical steps that anyone can use right now. You'll discover how paying attention to small details like body language, tone of voice, and silence can reveal what people often keep hidden. You'll learn how asking the right questions and listening fully brings out honest answers that build trust. You'll see why staying calm when others struggle helps you stay in control and supports better outcomes. Each lesson is designed to help you grow emotionally and mentally, making you stronger in every interaction. By practicing these ideas, you'll not only understand others faster, but also improve yourself. You'll build patience, empathy, and confidence, qualities that open doors in work, friendships, and family life. The changes start small, with simple shifts in how you listen and respond. Over time, these habits lead to lasting success and deeper connections. If you want to stop guessing and start truly knowing, this guide is for you. Stick with it, and you'll gain skills that bring clarity to every relationship and peace to your daily life. This is your chance to change how you connect with the world, step by step, moment by moment. Chapter 1. Master the art of listening with full attention. Listening with full attention is the foundation of understanding people deeply. It's not a soft skill, it's a vital human strength that shapes the way we relate, leads, support, and grow. The moment you decide to truly listen, you start to build clarity where confusion used to live, connection where distance was felt, and understanding where assumptions once ruled. It's a deliberate act of discipline that demands presence, self-control, and a willingness to set your own voice aside for a while to give space to someone else's. Most people have never been listened to with full attention, and because they haven't experienced it, they don't realize what it does for the human spirit. When you offer it, you change people, and you change yourself. To listen with full attention means more than staying quiet while someone else talks. It means you are fully present, mentally still, emotionally open, and completely engaged in what the other person is expressing. You are not preparing your reply. You are not drifting in your own thoughts. You are not planning how to shift the conversation back to yourself. You are not judging, comparing, or analyzing as they speak. You are simply there with them, for them, as they reveal their thoughts, feelings, and experiences in real time. That level of attention is rare, but it is learnable, and it is powerful. People want to be understood more than they want to be agreed with. They want to feel heard more than they want to be right, and they want to be seen for who they really are, not for how they appear in someone else's assumption. When you listen with full attention, you give someone the sense that they matter, that their words carry weight, that their emotions are valid, and that their experience is worth honoring. That one experience can transform a person's day, sometimes even their life. Think of the last time you tried to share something important with someone and felt ignored, rushed, or misunderstood. How did that feel? Now think of the last time someone really listened to you without interrupting, without turning the conversation toward themselves, without trying to fix you or judge you. Just calm presence, open ears, and full attention. That kind of listening leaves a mark. It heals. It builds trust, and it deepens relationships. That's the kind of listener you want to become if your goal is to understand others instantly and deeply. To get there, you have to practice in small moments. The next time someone speaks to you, even about something trivial, pause your inner commentary, Turn your full body toward them. Put away distractions. Look into their eyes without staring. Let your face show genuine interest. Be aware of your posture. Show through your entire presence that you are here with them and nowhere else. When they speak, don't jump in with your own story. Don't try to outdo their experience. Don't interrupt with advice or solutions. Just listen. And when they finish, don't rush to speak. Let a moment pass. This space shows them they've been truly heard. Listening in this way also teaches you about yourself. You begin to notice how often you want to interrupt, how quickly you form judgments, how impatient you become when someone speaks slowly or emotionally. These reactions are not flaws, they are signals. They show you where your ego still tries to dominate. They show you where your attention is divided. And once you're aware of these things, you can train yourself to respond differently. The discipline of full attention requires that you stop trying to be the most important person in the room. You stop performing. You stop seeking validation. You stop proving. And in that quiet space you make room for someone else to feel safe, seen, and accepted. That is not a weakness, that is strength. And the stronger you become at this, the more influence you will have, not by force but by presence. In a world full of noise, the person who listens stands out. Most conversations are just two people taking turns speaking. Neither really listening. They are just waiting for their turn. They are formulating responses instead of understanding what's actually being said. When you listen differently, people notice, they feel it, they lean in. They relax, they open up, and that's where the real conversation begins. This skill also allows you to read what's not being said. When your attention is full and quiet, you begin to pick up on subtle details. You notice hesitation in their tone. You see the slight tension in their body. You hear the pause between certain words. You sense the emotions beneath their statements. These details are missed by most people, but they contain the real message. Listening helps you understand the whole person, not just the surface of their words. You don't need to agree with someone to understand. That's where people often get stuck. They think listening means accepting everything, but understanding is not agreement. Understanding is presence. It's clarity. It's recognizing that every person is shaped by something real, even if their opinions, actions, or beliefs don't match your own. When you see this, you stop judging so quickly. You stay curious. You ask better questions, and you connect more deeply. There will be times when you listen to someone who is emotional, angry, or even unfair. Your instinct may be to defend yourself or shut them down. But if you can stay calm and attentive, something powerful happens. They feel your strength. They sense your stability. And often they begin to de-escalate. They start to trust that you're not here to win. You're here to understand. That one shift can prevent arguments, repair relationships, and build respect in situations that would otherwise fall apart. In practice, this means you stop interrupting. You stop needing to be right. You stop trying to fix every problem the moment you hear it. You listen fully first. You clarify before reacting. You paraphrase what you heard to confirm that you understood correctly. You check in with the person. You give them space to expand. You create an atmosphere where the truth can surface without pressure. Listening is a mirror. When someone speaks and sees that you are fully there with them, they begin to reflect more honestly. They go deeper. They stop performing and start revealing, and in that process, trust grows. But if you react quickly, dismiss what they say, or seem distracted, they shut down, they retreat, they protect themselves, and understanding becomes impossible. You also need to listen beyond words. Watch for patterns. People will often repeat the same themes, even in different stories. Pay attention to what lights them up, what shuts them down, where their voice changes, where their body becomes tense. All of these are signals, And when your attention is complete, you'll catch them. You don't need special training to become this kind of listener. You need discipline, you need humility, you need self-awareness, and you need to want to understand people more than you want to control them. That desire is rare, but when it's genuine, people feel it, and they respond. There is wisdom in stillness. When you become the person who can stay centered while others speak their truth, you earn their respect. You don't have to force it. You don't have to demand it. Your presence does the work, and over time you'll notice that people seek you out, not because you always have the right answers, but because you know how to hear them in a way that makes them feel human again. If you want to improve your relationships, start here. If you want to lead with integrity, start here. If you want to understand anyone instantly, start here. Everything changes when you learn to listen with full attention. The quality of your conversations improves, the depth of your connections grows, your ability to read people sharpens, and your sense of self becomes stronger. When you build this skill, you stop wasting time on shallow conversations. You begin to attract people who want depth, honesty, and connection. And you start to create a life where communication is not just about exchanging words, but about building something real. Train yourself to listen without needing to add something. Sit with what's being said. Hold your response. Don't rush to label it. Don't let your mind wander. Keep coming back to the speaker. Show through your body, your eyes, your silence, that you are with them. This may seem simple, but it's rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. There's nothing more valuable than being truly understood. And the fastest way to help others feel understood is to offer them your full, focused, and honest attention. No device, no distraction, no divided focus, just presence. That presence changes things. It makes people open up. It builds trust. It heals misunderstandings. It gives people a moment of peace in a noisy world. Every day you will be given opportunities to listen better. Don't waste them. Use them as training. With every conversation, sharpen your focus. Become the person who sees and hears what others miss. And in doing so, become the person who understands people in a way that feels instant, deep, and real. Listening with full attention is not a step in communication, it is the heart of it. And once you master this, every other skill becomes easier. Every relationship becomes clearer. And every conversation becomes an opportunity to connect with something real. Choose to be that person because the world needs more of them, and because you become stronger, wiser, and more human with every word you truly hear. Chapter 2. Observe body language to reveal hidden emotions fast. Most people speak far more with their bodies than they do with their words. The way a person stands, shifts, moves their hands, or holds their face can reveal more about what they're truly feeling than anything they say aloud. Yet most people miss these signals because they're not looking for them, or they're distracted by what they want to hear. To understand someone quickly and truthfully, you must learn to observe their body language with sharp awareness and calm attention. This is not about guessing or reading minds. It's about noticing what's in plain sight that others overlook. Human beings are constantly communicating non-verbally. They do it without thinking, and that's why it's often more honest than their spoken words. A person might say they're fine, but their posture might be tight, their jaw clenched, or their arms crossed in discomfort. When you learn to observe these cues with precision, you begin to see through masks. You stop being fooled by surface-level words, and you start recognizing what's really going on beneath the surface. This isn't about being suspicious or overly analytical. It's about becoming more tuned in, more present, so you can respond in ways that are grounded in truth. Start by focusing on posture. A person's posture reveals how they feel in the moment, An open posture with the chest relaxed, shoulders down and arms at the side, usually signals comfort and presence. A closed posture, crossed arms, hunched shoulders or a turned-away torso can indicate discomfort, insecurity or defensiveness. These are not always signs of hostility, sometimes they are signs of fear, stress or fatigue. But they're always signs of something deeper than words. When you start noticing posture consistently, you begin to recognize emotional patterns over time. Pay close attention to the hands. Hands can't lie. People fidget, touch their necks, rub their hands together, or hide their fingers when they feel anxious or uncertain. On the other hand, when someone is relaxed and engaged, their hands tend to move more freely, often supporting their words naturally. When the hands go still and the fingers lock tightly together, that's often a sign of inner tension. When someone hides their hands under a table or in their pockets while speaking about something emotional, they may be feeling vulnerable or unsure. Don't overanalyze, but observe with consistency. Over time, patterns become obvious. The face is also full of signals, especially the eyes, brows and mouth. Look for micro-expressions, those quick flashes of emotion that cross a person's face before they can control them. These are brief, involuntary reactions that can give you insight into what they're really feeling. A flicker of anger, sadness or fear that disappears quickly often means the person is trying to hide their true reaction. Pay attention to changes in the mouth, tightening of the lips, forced smiles or sudden swallowing. These are small signals that, when noticed, give you a deeper picture of the emotional truth behind the words. When someone is speaking and you notice a mismatch between what they're saying and what their body is doing, don't ignore it. If someone says they're excited about something but their body shrinks back, their voice lowers and their eyes avoid contact, you have valuable information. That mismatch often reveals discomfort, doubt or pressure. They may feel they need to appear enthusiastic, but their body can't hide their true feelings. In those moments, resist the urge to confront or correct. Simply stay present, observe and file the insight away. Often, giving people space will allow their body and words to eventually align naturally. The feet are often the most honest part of the body. Most people control their facial expressions and hands because they're aware those are being watched. But few people consciously manage their feet. When someone's feet are pointed away from you during a conversation, it can signal that they're ready to leave, uncomfortable or emotionally disconnected. When they're pointed directly at you, it's often a sign of engagement. In group settings, you can often tell who feels most connected to whom, based on where their feet are directed. It's a subtle but powerful cue that many miss. Another powerful indicator is proximity. How close someone stands or sits in relation to you tells you how emotionally comfortable they are. People move closer to those they trust, respect or feel safe with. They pull away or maintain distance when they feel threatened, disrespected, or uneasy. Respect people's space, but observe how it shifts over time. If someone starts out distant but gradually moves closer during a conversation, that's a strong sign of growing trust. If the opposite happens, reflect on whether something in the interaction caused discomfort and adjust your approach with awareness. Changes in breathing also tell you a lot. When someone is relaxed, their breathing is slow and steady. When they're stressed, afraid or angry, their breathing often becomes shallow or fast. You don't need to stare or make people feel self-conscious. Just be quietly aware of the shift. A sudden deep breath might indicate the person is trying to calm themselves before saying something difficult. A long pause followed by shallow breathing can mean hesitation or emotional restraint. When you notice these changes and respond with patience, you create a space where the person feels safe enough to open up more honestly. Watch for repeated gestures or movements that only show up during certain topics. For example, if someone always scratches their neck when talking about their job, or taps their fingers rapidly when discussing their partner, these are unconscious signs of inattention or unresolved emotion. You don't need to point it out, but make a mental note. The body repeats what the heart feels. These gestures become windows into someone's emotional history and present discomfort. When people feel relaxed and at ease, their movements are fluid, open and natural. When they feel guarded or emotionally blocked, their movements often become rigid, controlled or erratic. The shift from relaxed to rigid or from fluid to still is always worth paying attention to. Something important is happening in that moment, and your job is not to judge it, but to observe it. That observation builds your emotional intelligence. It sharpens your perception. It makes you more aware, more in tune, and more connected to the reality in front of you. Not just what you hope or assume is there. Learning to read body language accurately also requires humility. You're not here to diagnose people or control them. You're here to understand them with more clarity and compassion. You must stay grounded in curiosity, not assumptions. People are not puzzles to be solved. They're human beings expressing themselves in the best way they can at the moment. Your role is to pay attention, gather clues, and respond with sensitivity and care. To sharpen this skill, practice in silence. Observe people without needing to engage. Watch how they enter a room, where they sit, how they greet others, where they look when they're nervous, and how their posture shifts when topics change. Notice what their body does before they speak and after they finish. These silent observations build a deep well of knowledge that no textbook can teach you. Real understanding comes from experience, repetition, and patience. Start paying closer attention to people in your everyday life. At home, notice how your family members carry themselves during meals, arguments, or quiet moments. At work, watch how colleagues react when plans change, when they speak in meetings, or when they receive feedback. In public, observe strangers from a respectful distance, how they interact, how they walk, how they react to noise or chaos. The more you observe, the more fluent you become in this silent language of emotion. Eventually, you'll begin to see things before others do. You'll catch signs of stress before the person says a word. You'll sense dishonesty not from what's said, but from what's missing in their body. You'll know when someone is overwhelmed, even if they smile and say everything is fine. This kind of awareness is not about control, it's about connection. It helps you know when to offer space, when to stay quiet, when to gently check in, or when to shift the subject. The more accurately you observe others, the more control you also gain over yourself. You'll notice when your own body tenses, when your breath shortens, or when you unconsciously pull away from someone. You'll be able to regulate your own presence better. You'll know when you're closing off and learn to open back up. Observation is not just an outward skill, it's a path to inner mastery. Understanding body language helps you move through the world with more clarity. It protects you from deception. It helps you avoid unnecessary conflict. It helps you lead, support, and relate to people with emotional wisdom. It teaches you to look deeper than appearances and to honor the truth that people are often too afraid to speak. In a world full of noise, the ability to see without being told is rare. But when you develop it, you become a person of depth, strength, and quiet influence, someone others feel safe with, even before a word is spoken. Chapter 3. Ask direct questions that uncover real human truth. Asking direct questions is one of the fastest ways to cut through surface-level conversation and reach the core of what a person really thinks, feels, and believes. Most people avoid directness because they fear discomfort or rejection, but avoiding hard questions often leads to confusion, distance, and assumptions that grow into bigger misunderstandings. When you ask clearly and honestly, you bring light to places where others only guess. You give people a chance to speak their truth, even if they've never spoken it before, And in that moment, you begin to understand who they really are, not who they pretend to be or who you hope they are, but who they are underneath everything. To ask direct questions that uncover real truth, you have to start with courage. It takes strength to ask something that might challenge someone or make them pause. It takes discipline to ask without judgment. And it takes wisdom to know when the moment is right. Direct questions are not about being forceful or intrusive. They're about being clear, sincere, and emotionally honest. They create space for truth, and truth is the foundation of real understanding. When most people talk, they stay on the surface. They talk about their day, the weather, the news, or things they've already rehearsed in their minds. These conversations are fine, but they don't reveal the deeper layers of a person's life. To get to those layers, you have to ask questions that go beyond the obvious. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" ask, "What challenged you today that nobody else noticed?" Instead of asking, "Are you okay?" ask, "What's something you're not saying right now that you wish someone would ask about?" These kinds of questions cut straight to what matters. But the key to asking direct questions is not just in the wording, it's in your presence. If you ask with tension, pressure, or impatience, the person will shut down. If you ask with calm, openness, and respect, the person will lean in. Your tone, your timing, and your energy all communicate just as much as your words. Before asking a question, check your intention. Are you asking to truly understand, or are you asking to confirm your own opinions? Are you open to hearing the truth, even if it's uncomfortable? If the answer is yes, then you're ready to ask, and ready to listen fully. Direct questions often sound simple, but they carry weight. Asking, "What are you afraid of right now?" or "What do you really want but haven't said out loud?" can open doors to conversations that shift relationships forever. These are not aggressive questions, they are real questions. They're questions people wish others would ask, but are too afraid to hear the answer. When you ask with clarity and compassion, you become someone who brings out the truth in others. You become a person who helps others see themselves more clearly. You don't need a script of perfect questions. You need to be present enough to ask the right question in the moment. That requires attention. Listen carefully to what someone is saying, then gently ask what's underneath it. If someone says they're stressed about work, you might ask, is it the pressure to perform, or something deep? If they talk about a relationship ending, ask, was it the ending that hurt, or the way it ended? These small shifts in questioning move the conversation from general to personal, from safe to real, from distant to intimate. When you ask direct questions, don't rush the silence that follows. Some people need a moment to process. They may have never been asked something so real before. They may not even know their answer yet. Give them time. Let the silence do its work. It's in that quiet that clarity often begins to rise. Don't fill the gap with chatter or nervous words. Just stay present. Show them that you're not in a hurry and that you're strong enough to handle whatever they need to say. There's a difference between asking someone what they think and asking what they feel. Thoughts are often filtered and edited. Emotions come from a deeper place. Asking how did that make you feel, or what did that moment do to you inside, shifts the focus from external events to internal truth. And that's where real understanding lives. When people describe their emotions, they reveal what matters to them. They show you their values, their wounds, their hopes, and their fear. Direct questions also help you stop guessing. Many relationships fall apart because people assume too much. They think they know what the other person wants, feels, or needs, but assumptions are fragile. They often come from our own fears, not from reality. If you're unsure about something, ask. If something feels off, ask. If you don't understand someone's decision, ask. But always ask from a place of wanting to understand, not from a place of accusation or control. Asking direct questions also helps you uncover your own truth. When you practice asking others real questions, you begin to ask them of yourself. You start to wonder, what am I not admitting? Or what am I pretending not to feel? This inner questioning sharpens your self-awareness. It helps you live with more integrity. You stop hiding from yourself. And when you stop hiding from yourself, you stop needing others to do the same. In practical terms, practice asking better questions every day. When a friend is venting, instead of just nodding, ask, what's the part of this that hurts the most? When someone seems distant, instead of pulling away, ask, have I done something that made you withdraw? When someone shares a goal, ask, what fear do you feel when you think about chasing it? These questions don't demand anything. They simply invite truth. And when truth is invited with kindness, it often shows up. You must also be prepared to hear things you didn't expect. Truth is not always comfortable, but it is always useful. When someone tells you something real, honor it. Don't argue. Don't fix. Just thank them for being honest. That response builds trust. It shows them that you can handle their truth, even if it challenges you. And when people know they can be real with you, they bring you more of their truth over time. That's how relationships deepen. Direct questions are also tools for resolving conflict. Instead of accusing someone of ignoring you, ask, is there something between us that hasn't been said? Instead of reacting to distance, ask, is there something you're holding back that you're not ready to talk about? These questions open the door for real repair. They show maturity, they show strength, and they create space for resolution rather than escalation. There is a quiet power in asking questions that matter. It shows that you're not afraid of reality. It shows that you value truth more than comfort. It shows that you care enough to go deeper, even when staying on the surface would be easier. This doesn't mean pushing people or invading their privacy. It means offering them a chance to be fully known, fully heard, and fully accepted. And that offering is a rare and beautiful gift. Every day you have the chance to ask better questions. Every conversation is an opportunity to move closer to truth or further into assumption. Choose the path that brings clarity. Choose the path that brings honesty. Choose the path that builds real human connection. The more direct you become with compassion, the more you'll understand people not just by what they say, but by what they're finally free to say. When someone strong enough dares to ask. If you want to understand anyone instantly, stop rehearsing what to say and start getting curious about what's real. Ask with heart. Ask with strength. Ask with respect. Then stay present for the answer, even if it surprises you. That is how truth rises. That is how connection is born. That is how you become the kind of person who understands others, not through effort, but through presence, precision, and courage. Chapter 4. Speak less to understand what others truly mean. Most people talk too much because they're uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill the space, explain themselves, prove something, or steer the conversation in a direction that feels safer. But in doing so, they miss what's actually being said. To truly understand someone, you have to speak less. Not just in the number of words, but in the weight you place on your own words. The less you speak, the more room you give others to reveal themselves. The more you listen without inserting your own story, the more clearly you'll hear the truth underneath theirs. Understanding people doesn't come from speaking at them. It comes from being with them. Most people reveal who they are not in their first words, but in what they say after a pause. When you stay quiet and give them space, they keep talking. And often, that second wave of words contains what's real. But if you interrupt, give advice, or shift the focus too soon, that truth never surfaces. When you speak less, you stop interrupting the flow of someone else's thoughts. You stop directing the conversation toward your own needs. You begin to follow their meaning, not your assumptions. Holding back your words doesn't mean being passive, it means being disciplined. It means resisting the urge to fix, explain, or teach before you've truly understood. It means valuing the other person's perspective more than the comfort of your own opinion. This is rare. Most people listen just enough to reply. They're waiting for their turn, not really hearing. But if you can quiet your own need to speak, you become someone who listens not just with ears, but with presence. When someone is speaking, and you want to understand what they truly mean, don't immediately relate their story to yours. Don't compare or try to match it. Don't offer your version or your solution right away. Just let their words settle. Watch their body language, feel their emotion, pay attention to the rhythm of their speech, the pauses, the shifts in tone. All of this reveals more than the words themselves. If you speak too soon, you cut that process short. But if you remain quiet, you signal that their words matter more than your reply. Sometimes people say things indirectly because they're testing whether it's safe to open up more. They might start with vague comments, uncertain whether you'll understand or judge them. If you rush in with your opinion, you may close the door they were trying to open. But if you stay quiet, nod, and wait, they often go deeper. They elaborate. They risk more honesty, and that's when the real conversation begins. Speaking less means giving others the freedom to think out loud, to process, to search for the right words without fear of interruption. When you do speak, make it count. Use fewer words that hold more clarity. Ask simple questions that draw someone out. Say just enough to show you're listening without taking over the moment. You don't have to narrate your thoughts. You don't need to comment on everything. Sometimes a single sentence is enough. Sometimes silence is stronger than speech. And in that silence, people find their own clarity, which leads to deeper honesty. The more you speak, the more likely you are to say something that comes from assumption rather than understanding. The less you speak, the more space you have to observe, to absorb, and to understand what someone truly means, especially when they're struggling to say it clearly. People often communicate in incomplete thoughts, distracted by emotion or uncertainty. When you stay quiet, you allow their meaning to rise from between the lines. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to control it. You just need to stay with it. Some people talk to avoid feeling. They speak to distract themselves from their discomfort. Others talk to avoid facing what's being revealed. If you can speak less, you can feel more. You can sense what's being avoided or left unsaid. And you can respond, not to what's obvious, but to what's underneath. That's how real understanding grows, not by controlling the conversation, but by creating space within it. There's strength in restraint. When you speak less, people listen more. Your words carry more weight because they're not constant. Your presence becomes more grounded. You become someone others respect because you don't waste energy on unnecessary speech. You save your voice for what matters. And when you do speak, people pay attention, not out of fear or pressure, but because your silence has taught them to value your presence. The habit of over-talking often comes from insecurity. People fear being misunderstood, so they over-explain. They fear silence, so they fill it. But that fear can be unlearned. With practice, you can teach yourself to be comfortable with stillness. You can learn to wait a few extra seconds before responding. You can practice listening without planning your reply, and you can discover that most of what needs to be said by you will be clear only after you've fully heard the other person. When you speak less, you make fewer assumptions. You stop predicting what someone means before they've finished their thought. You stop jumping to conclusions based on your own biases. You give people room to show you who they are instead of projecting your interpretation onto them. And when you stop filling in the blanks, people often fill them in themselves, truthfully, if they feel safe. In moments of tension, speaking less can be your greatest strength. When emotions rise, words often lose accuracy. People say things they don't mean, or they say too much. But if you remain calm and quiet, you prevent escalation. Your stillness becomes an anchor. You can listen not only to the words, but to the emotion behind them. And you can respond with clarity instead of reaction. In this way, silence protects both you and the person in front of you. This doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention. You speak when your words will add understanding, not confusion. You speak when it serves the other person, not just your own impulse. You speak when the silence has given you clarity. And when you do, your words have power, not because they're loud, but because they come from stillness, presence, and true awareness. You don't need to know everything to understand someone. You just need to create the space where they can be known. That space is built by speaking less and listening more, by holding back your urge to control the conversation, by giving others the dignity of finishing their thoughts, and by waiting long enough to hear what they might have been afraid to say. Every time you speak less, you learn more. You learn what matters to the person in front of you. You learn what triggers them, what softens them, what they repeat, and what they avoid. You learn how they think, how they feel, and how they reveal themselves. All of this is hidden behind the noise of ordinary conversation. But when you speak less, the noise fades, and the truth comes through. Learning to speak less is not about being quiet for its own sake. It's about being intentional. It's about resisting the pressure to always have an answer. It's about choosing presence over performance, and it's about honoring the person in front of you enough to hear them fully before offering your own voice. In every interaction, you have a choice. You can speak quickly and remain on the surface, or you can slow down, say less, and go deeper. Depth doesn't come from volume. It comes from space. Space in your words. Space in your mind. Space in your ego. When you reduce the noise you create, you increase the understanding you gain. Make it your practice to speak with precision, not just opinion. To pause before responding, to observe before reacting, and to allow silence to speak when your words are not necessary. Over time, you'll see that understanding people becomes easier, not because you said more, but because you listened better. And in that shift, your presence becomes more powerful than any words you could have spoken. Chapter 5. Build emotional awareness to connect with anyone deeply. Emotional awareness is the foundation of every deep and lasting connection. It's the ability to recognize what you feel, understand why you feel it, and respond in a way that brings you closer to the truth, rather than pushing others away. Without emotional awareness, communication stays shallow, and relationships become filled with confusion, frustration, and distance. But when you develop this inner clarity, you begin to experience others in a completely different way. You stop reacting from habit and start responding from understanding. You stop needing others to read your mind, and you start expressing yourself in ways that bring real closeness. To connect with anyone on a deeper level, you first have to be honest about what's going on inside you. That means slowing down and observing your emotions without denying them or rushing past them. Most people don't do this. They either suppress what they feel or exaggerate it, depending on what's most comfortable in the moment. But real strength lies in the ability to face your emotions without fear. When you know what you're feeling, you don't dump it on others or bottle it up. You express it clearly and calmly. You stop using blame, sarcasm, or silence as your only tools. You begin to speak with honesty, and that honesty invites connection. People are naturally drawn to those who are emotionally grounded. They trust them more because there's no confusion about where they stand. Emotional awareness allows you to be steady even when others are overwhelmed. It helps you stay present in hard conversations. It helps you read the room without overthinking. And it helps you validate other people's experiences without needing to control them. You stop trying to fix others, and instead you become someone who simply understands them. That presence alone can be healing. Being emotionally aware doesn't mean you have to talk about your feelings constantly. It means you notice them as they arise. You name them silently. You let them exist without reacting immediately. For example, if you feel irritated during a conversation, instead of lashing out or withdrawing, you pause and acknowledge it. I feel frustrated. Why? What's underneath it? Is it about this person or something else? That brief reflection stops you from creating unnecessary conflict. It gives you space to choose a better response. Most misunderstandings happen because people aren't honest with themselves about what they're feeling. They think they're angry, but really they're hurt. They think they're fine, but really they're shut down. They say they're over it, but they're still carrying resentment. When you're emotionally aware, you catch these layers in yourself before they distort your behavior. And when you're tuned into your own emotional truth, you're better equipped to sense it in others. Emotional awareness also helps you become a more compassionate listener. When someone is speaking from a place of pain or fear, you recognize it. You don't take their words personally. You don't get defensive. You realize they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to protect themselves. And that shift in perspective helps you stay calm. It allows you to respond with empathy instead of resistance. It makes people feel safe around you, because they sense that they won't be judged or dismissed. You also learn to ask better questions. Instead of reacting to someone's surface emotion, you look for what's behind it. If someone is angry, you ask yourself, what's causing the anger? Is it fear, sadness, or disappointment? And instead of arguing or trying to win, you stay open. You might say something like, you seem upset, what's really bothering you? Or what do you need from me right now? These simple questions come from emotional intelligence, and they often change the direction of a conversation. To build this awareness, start by checking in with yourself regularly. Throughout the day, ask, what am I feeling right now? What triggered it? What do I need? This doesn't take long, but it builds the habit of self-connection. You begin to notice patterns. You see how certain people or situations affect your emotions. You learn your emotional triggers and how to handle them with maturity. And when you stop being surprised by your emotions, you stop being controlled by them. Pay attention to your physical responses too. Emotions often show up in the body before the mind. A tight chest might signal anxiety. A clenched jaw might mean suppressed anger. A lump in the throat might point to sadness. When you notice these signals early, you can address the emotion before it overwhelms you. You can breathe through it, you can name it, and you can bring yourself back to a grounded place. Building emotional awareness also means accepting every emotion without shame. There are no bad emotions, there are only messages. Anger might be telling you a boundary has been crossed. Sadness might be asking you to slow down and feel. Fear might be warning you to pay attention. Joy might be reminding you to stay present. When you listen to these signals instead of ignoring them, you become emotionally mature, and that maturity shows up in every conversation you have. To connect deeply with others, you also need to reflect their emotions accurately. When someone shares something vulnerable, acknowledge it. Say, that sounds really painful, or I can see how much that means to you. This simple validation builds trust. It tells the other person that they've been heard, not just for their words, but for their feelings. And when someone feels seen on an emotional level, they naturally open up more. That's how deep bonds are formed. Sometimes people don't know what they're feeling. They might lash out or shut down without understanding why. If you stay emotionally aware, you can gently guide them. You can say, "You seem a little distant. Are you okay?" Or, "You don't sound like yourself. What's going on?" These observations aren't confrontational, they're caring. They show that you're paying attention beyond the surface. Emotional awareness also protects your peace. When you know what you feel and why, you don't take on other people's energy. You can sit with someone's sadness without becoming sad yourself. You can hear someone's anger without absorbing it. You know where you end and they begin, and that boundary keeps you emotionally strong, even in difficult situations. When you're emotionally aware, you also learn to apologize when needed. You recognize when you've hurt someone, even unintentionally. You don't justify or blame, you simply own it. You say, "I see how that affected you, and I'm sorry." That kind of ownership builds respect. It shows humility. And it deepens the connection, far more than any perfect words ever could. Emotional awareness doesn't make life easier, it makes it clearer. It helps you navigate conflict, express your needs, support others, and stay true to yourself. It allows you to be both strong and sensitive, and it turns everyday conversations into moments of real connection. In every interaction, there is an emotional undercurrent. Most people ignore it. They focus on words, tone, or outcomes. But those who pay attention to emotion move through life with a different level of understanding. They don't guess what people need, they sense it. They don't fight for control, they create space for honesty. They don't seek approval, they build trust, and in doing so they create relationships that are grounded, honest, and deeply human. Building emotional awareness is a daily practice. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you notice what you feel, each time you respond with clarity, you grow. You become more centered, more real, and more capable of connecting with others in ways that leave a lasting impact. This is how you understand people, not through tricks or analysis, but through the quiet strength of emotional truth. Chapter 6. Read facial expressions to sense thoughts instantly. The human face reveals more than words ever can. Before someone speaks, their face is already communicating. Micro-expressions flash across the skin. Subtle movements shift in the eyes, the lips, the eyebrows, the corners of the mouth. All of these tell a story that words often hide. Learning to read facial expressions with attention and care gives you a powerful ability to sense thoughts before they are spoken. It's not about mind reading or guesswork. It's about paying attention to details that most people overlook. These small cues carry truth because they're harder to control. While someone may filter their words, their face reacts in real time, and those reactions can be noticed by anyone disciplined enough to observe without distraction. When a person feels joy, even if they don't speak it, their face softens. The cheeks rise, the eyes squint slightly, and their whole expression becomes more open. When someone is frustrated, tension often appears in the forehead or around the mouth, even if their words sound calm. When someone is confused, the eyebrows may lower or pull together, creating a furrow between the eyes. These expressions happen quickly and often unconsciously. To notice them, you must first quiet your own internal noise. You can't be busy rehearsing your next sentence or consumed by your own thoughts. You have to be fully focused on the person in front of you, not only listening to what they say but watching how they say it with their face. Every expression is a signal. Some last only a fraction of a second, but in that moment, they reveal something real. You may be speaking with someone who says they're fine, but in that half-second pause, their lips tighten and their eyes glance away. That's not an accident. That's a moment of truth breaking through. If you catch it and respond with calm presence, perhaps saying, "You don't have to pretend if something's bothering you," you open a door to deeper conversation. But if you miss it, the person may retreat further into silence or say what they think you want to hear. Noticing facial expressions requires humility. It's not about judging others or labeling every movement. It's about being curious and present. You notice patterns over time. For example, some people raise one eyebrow when they're skeptical. Others press their lips together when they're holding back a strong reaction. You begin to see what these signals mean for each person. The key is to observe without assuming. A single facial expression doesn't always carry the same meaning for every individual. What matters is consistency. If you observe how someone reacts across different situations, you begin to understand how their face reflects their inner thoughts. Discomfort is often shown through small changes in expression. A person might force a smile that doesn't reach their eye. They may blink rapidly or look away when a sensitive topic arises. These are not random habits. They are signals that something deeper is happening. If you ignore them, the conversation remains shallow. But if you notice and honor these cues, you create space for honesty. You can ask a gentle question or give the person permission to say what's truly on their mind. When someone is lying, their face may momentarily show a flash of fear or guilt before they regain composure. They might smile too quickly or fail to match their words with the emotion their eyes are showing. Again, the goal is not to accuse or confront, but to sense that something is not aligned. The more you learn to notice these small expressions, the more you understand what people are trying not to say, and that is often where the truth lives. Reading facial expressions also deepens empathy. You become more attuned to how others experience the moment. When someone shares good news and their face lights up, you feel their joy more deeply because you see it, not just hear it. When someone expresses sadness and their whole face seems to drop, you feel the weight of their emotion in a more immediate way. This makes you a better friend, a stronger partner, and a more trustworthy presence in any setting. People are drawn to those who see them clearly and respond with understanding, not just logic. When you're in a conversation and want to know what the other person is really thinking, slow down and focus your attention fully on their face. Watch what changes when certain words are said. Notice when their expression shifts mid-sentence. Pay attention to whether their face matches the story they're telling. If it doesn't, gently invite them to say more. Often people will say, "I'm okay," but their eyes are moist or their jaw is clenched. These are moments when your awareness can become a bridge to deeper connection. You don't need special training to read faces. You need presence, patience, and sincerity. The human brain is naturally wired to detect facial emotion. But most people ignore this skill because they're too distracted. They check their phone during conversations, look around the room, or think about their next reply instead of being with the person in front of them. The more still and focused you become, the more naturally this awareness grows. You start noticing more how long someone makes eye contact, whether their smile fades quickly, if their expressions match their voice. These details begin to speak to you. When someone talks about a past experience, watch their expression as they recall it. Does their face relax or tighten? Do they look away or do they look straight at you? These subtle cues give you insight into how that moment still lives inside them. Even if they downplay the event, their face may say otherwise, and when you honor that deeper emotion, you give them a chance to be real. This level of attention also helps you avoid misunderstandings. Instead of assuming someone is being cold or rude, you might notice that their expression is actually one of discomfort or fear. Instead of reacting to what seems like arrogance, you might see a flicker of insecurity. This changes how you respond. You stop fighting surface-level behavior and start addressing the real emotion underneath. And that shift transforms communication. The face is a mirror of the mind, and when you learn to read that mirror, you become someone who understands others faster and more clearly than most ever will. You won't always be right, but you'll be closer to the truth than if you only listen to words. Words can be chosen. Expressions often are not, and in those unfiltered moments, people show you who they really are. You also learn when to stay silent. Sometimes the face says enough. When someone's expression turns heavy, you don't need to fill the silence. You just need to stay there. Your presence becomes the comfort. Your stillness becomes the support. This makes you powerful, not through control but through quiet observation and calm response. The discipline to read faces begins with observation and is refined through repetition. Over time you will notice more without trying. You'll start sensing emotional shifts before they're spoken. You'll understand when someone is holding something back. You'll be able to support people in the moments they need it most, even when they don't ask. That is the gift of awareness, and once you develop it, you become a person who can navigate human emotion with clarity, trust, and quiet strength. In every face there is a language being spoken without sound. Most people pass by it every day, but those who learn to see it begin to understand the world in a new way. They connect faster, love deeper, and lead with more clarity, because they've learned to sense not just the words but the truth behind them. And that changes everything. Chapter 7. Study tone of voice to catch emotional shifts. You can learn more about a person's emotional state by listening to how they speak than by focusing only on what they say. The tone of voice reveals inner shifts that words often conceal. People may use the same phrases they always do, but their tone changes when their feelings change. Anger, sadness, fear, joy, anxiety, and even indifference all leave fingerprints on the voice. When you train yourself to detect these emotional signals, you begin to hear the truth that lives behind the surface. The words may be rehearsed or polite, but the voice never lies. It carries emotional weight. It wavers with uncertainty, sharpens with tension, rises with excitement, and softens with vulnerability. This is how people reveal themselves without realizing it. Tone includes many elements: volume, pitch, rhythm, pace, emphasis, inflection. A person who is nervous might speak faster, in a higher pitch, with less breath support. Someone who feels confident tends to speak with steadiness and control. When someone is angry, their tone may become tight or cutting, even if they speak quietly. Sadness often brings a slower, flatter tone, sometimes with a drop at the end of each sentence. By tuning in to these small shifts, you begin to sense emotions even when the speaker isn't naming them. You move past the literal meaning and into the emotional truth that shapes it. This skill doesn't require special training. It requires attention. You have to start listening with your whole presence, not just your ears. You listen not to reply but to understand. You pay attention to how the voice feels, not just what it says. This means slowing down your inner pace. It means observing without rushing. It means being still enough inside to notice what others miss. Most people are so busy preparing their next response that they completely miss the emotional temperature of the room. But if you become quiet and focused, you'll begin to notice shifts in the voice the way you notice changes in the weather. Subtle, but real. You might be in a conversation where someone says they're fine, but their voice tightens slightly on the word fine. That tension means something. It could be stress, discomfort, or sadness. If you're paying attention, you won't take the word at face value. You'll recognize the disconnect between tone and message, and you'll be able to respond with more care. Maybe you don't ask directly what's wrong. But you slow down, you give them space, you soften your own voice in response, and they may eventually open up. That connection is only possible when you're attuned to tone. Tone often changes when someone talks about certain topics. You can learn a lot by noticing how their voice shifts at specific points in a story. They may speak with confidence about their work, but sound hesitant when discussing family. They may sound enthusiastic when describing plans, but become flat or cold when speaking about past experiences. These changes are clues. They tell you where emotions are being stirred, where wounds may still be open, and where excitement or fear may live. By noticing these changes, you can ask the right questions. You can follow the emotional thread rather than just the narrative. The tone of voice is especially important when emotions are difficult to express directly. People who are afraid of judgment may say one thing while feeling another. They may try to sound unaffected, but their voice betrays them. It may become overly casual, too fast, or artificially cheerful. This performance isn't a lie, it's protection. But if you can hear the strain behind it, you can respond in a way that reduces fear. You can be the calm voice that invites truth. You can help them feel seen without needing to push. Tone also gives you information about what matters to someone. When a person lights up, their voice becomes more animated. When they speak from passion, their voice gains rhythm and energy. When they care deeply about something, their words come alive. These moments matter. They show what fuels a person from the inside. If you're only half listening, you'll miss them. But if you're present and listening with attention, you'll know exactly when to lean in, when to ask more, and when to simply hold space. This kind of listening builds trust. People feel more connected to those who truly hear them. Not just the words, but the feeling underneath. When someone senses that you're attuned to their tone, they relax, they feel safer being honest. They know they don't have to perform. That sense of being understood is powerful. It creates space for deeper conversations. It allows relationships to move beyond the surface. Sometimes, tone reveals inner conflict. A person may speak confidently but with tension, signaling that they are unsure or anxious beneath the surface. They may agree with you verbally, but their tone carries hesitation. These are not mistakes. They are emotional data points. If you listen closely, you'll begin to sense where someone's emotions are not aligned with their words. That insight helps you navigate the conversation with greater empathy and clarity. In moments of stress, tone becomes even more important. When emotions are high, the content of what people say may be confused or messy, but their tone will tell you what they need. A sharp tone might not mean anger, it could be fear or hurt. A withdrawn tone might not mean disinterest, it could be shame or exhaustion. If you respond only to the surface, you miss the real opportunity. But if you respond to the tone, you meet the emotion. And that's where connection is built. When someone is upset, your own tone becomes part of the healing. If you stay calm, steady and kind, your voice becomes grounding. Your tone reassures, it signals safety. Even if you don't have all the right words, your tone can carry the message of care, respect and stability. That's what people remember. That's what they respond to. Not the cleverness of your speech, but the feeling your voice created. Developing sensitivity to tone takes daily practice. Start by noticing your own. When you speak, what does your tone say about you? Do you rush? Do you sound distracted or disengaged? Do you raise your voice when you feel threatened? Do you flatten it when you're sad? By learning your own patterns, you increase your emotional clarity, and from that clarity, you become more attuned to others. Pay attention during casual conversation. Notice how people's voices change when they shift from one subject to another. Observe how their tone differs when they speak to a friend, a stranger, or a supervisor. These variations teach you what makes people feel safe or unsafe. They teach you what excites or scares them, and over time, this awareness becomes second nature. Listening for tone is not about analyzing people, it's about being present with them. It's about caring enough to listen deeply. It's about becoming someone who sees beyond appearances and hears what is rarely said out loud. That level of awareness makes you someone others turn to. Not because you solve everything, but because you listen with your whole self. When you walk into any conversation, ask yourself, am I really hearing this person? Am I picking up on how they feel, not just what they say? Am I aware of the tone beneath their words? These questions shift your focus. They slow you down. And in that slower space, understanding happens. Tone of voice is the hidden language of emotion. It's the bridge between the mind and the heart. When you learn to hear it, you become a better communicator, a stronger leader, a more compassionate partner, and a more trustworthy human being. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be willing to listen. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. Not with noise, but with presence. And in that presence, everything becomes clearer. Chapter 8. Reflect what you hear to show real understanding. Understanding someone is not just about hearing their words, it is about making them feel truly heard. One of the most powerful ways to do that is by reflecting what you hear back to them in a way that proves you were fully present. This doesn't mean repeating their words mechanically. It means processing what they said and responding with clarity, warmth, and emotional accuracy. When you reflect what someone shares, you show that you value their thoughts, their emotions, and their experience. You create a moment where the other person feels seen, not just heard. That moment builds trust, deepens connection, and changes the quality of communication. Reflecting what you hear begins with full attention. When someone is talking, your only job is to receive, not to prepare your next sentence, not to fix their problem, not to jump in with advice. You stay quiet and listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. Once they finish speaking, you offer back what you heard in your own words, with sincerity and care. You might say, "So what I'm hearing is," or "It sounds like you're feeling," and then you express their core message. The goal is not to get every word right, but to show that you grasp the meaning behind their words. That act alone makes people feel respected and safe. When someone feels misunderstood, they often shut down or repeat themselves louder. They try harder to make their point because they don't feel received. But when someone reflects their message back with honesty, they soften. They don't need to fight to be understood. They relax, open up, and often go deeper. That's when the real conversation begins. That's when the truth surfaces. That's when people feel comfortable being vulnerable. This skill is essential in every relationship, personal or professional. In moments of tension, instead of reacting defensively, you reflect what you hear. For example, if someone says they're frustrated with you, you can say, "It sounds like you feel let down because I didn't follow through." That small moment of reflection reduces resistance. It shows you're listening with maturity. It takes courage to reflect instead of react, but that courage transforms communication. It turns conflict into understanding. Sometimes people don't even understand what they're feeling until they hear it reflected back. When you articulate their emotion clearly, it helps them clarify their own inner state. They might say, "Yes, that's exactly it," or "I didn't realize it until you said that." This shows how powerful reflection can be, not just as a tool for understanding others, but for helping them understand themselves. That kind of presence is rare, and it makes a lasting impact. To reflect well, you must stay emotionally neutral and open. You don't twist their words or add your own story. You simply offer a mirror. If they say they're overwhelmed at work, you don't launch into your own story about being busy. You say, "That sounds like a lot to carry right now." That validation is enough. It shows empathy. It doesn't compete. It allows the other person to feel supported without needing to justify their experience. Even brief reflections can shift the energy in a conversation. When someone says, "I'm just really tired lately," and you respond, "It sounds like you've been running on empty," they feel understood. That small sentence changes how they see you. You become someone who listens beyond the surface. Someone who hears what's really being said. That's what people crave. Not solutions, not advice, but the simple, quiet experience of being heard and felt. Reflection also helps when people are being indirect. Sometimes someone won't say exactly what they mean. They'll hint, test, or speak vaguely. If you listen closely, you can reflect the core feeling behind their words. If someone says, "I guess it doesn't really matter," in a tone of disappointment, you can gently say, "It seems like it does matter to you actually." That moment of reflection brings honesty forward. It breaks the pattern of avoidance and invites openness. You don't need to overthink the reflection. Keep it simple. Focus on the emotion and the meaning. Pay attention to their tone, their pace, their pauses. Use that information to express back what they're truly trying to say. Even if you don't get it exactly right, the effort itself builds connection. You might say, "Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you feel discouraged," and they'll either confirm or clarify. Either way, the dialogue deepens. This practice takes humility. You put your own thoughts aside to focus fully on the other person. You become a student of their experience. You listen with your full mind and heart. That's why reflection is not just a technique, it's a discipline. It requires emotional control. It asks you to slow down, let go of assumptions, and care more about understanding than being understood. But in doing so, you gain both. Because people are far more likely to listen to you once they feel listened to. Over time, reflection builds emotional intelligence. You learn to read between the lines. You learn to name what others struggle to express. You become a mirror that brings people closer to themselves. That kind of presence is healing. It dissolves tension. It creates emotional safety. And it teaches others, often without words, how to listen more deeply themselves. When you reflect someone's truth with care, you create space for mutual respect. You build trust, not by agreeing with everything, but by making the other person feel known. You don't always have to fix the problem or offer a solution. Sometimes your reflection is enough. It tells the other person, "You matter, your experience is real. I hear you, and I'm here." That's what people carry with them. That's what stays long after the words are gone. Practice this in your everyday conversations. When someone shares something with emotion, stop and reflect it back. Keep your tone calm and open. Don't rush. Don't analyze. Just listen, receive, and reflect. Watch how the other person reacts. You'll notice a shift. You'll see people light up, relax, or pause in surprise that someone is actually listening. That response is the reward. It tells you that your presence is making a difference. Reflection also teaches you patience. You stop interrupting. You stop assuming. You allow conversations to unfold naturally. You become more curious, less reactive. You learn to let people be where they are without needing to change them. That creates real understanding. The kind that doesn't come from words alone, but from a deep willingness to see the other person as they are. This skill becomes a habit. The more you practice it, the more it becomes second nature. You start listening to understand rather than to win. You start seeing the value in every voice, not just the loudest or the most polished. You learn to hold space for others in a way that is steady and kind. And in doing so, you grow, not just as a communicator, but as a human being who brings clarity, compassion, and connection wherever you go. Chapter 9. Stay fully present to feel what others feel. To truly understand another person, you must learn to stay fully present in the moment and connect with what they are feeling beneath their words. Presence is the foundation of deep connection. It is the ability to set aside distractions, judgments, and inner chatter to fully engage with another human being on a raw emotional level. When you practice this kind of presence, you open the door to feeling what others feel instead of just hearing what they say. This experience transforms communication from a simple exchange of information into an encounter that moves both people. Feeling what others feel is not about losing yourself or becoming overwhelmed. It is about strengthening your awareness and tuning in with clarity and compassion. Being fully present requires discipline. It means stopping whatever else you were doing and focusing all your attention on the person in front of you. It is impossible to be truly present when your mind is racing with thoughts about your to-do list or how to respond next. You must cultivate the habit of returning to the here and now, to the person speaking, to the subtle rhythms of their voice and body language. This is a practice that demands patience and humility because it asks you to be vulnerable yourself. When you open yourself to feeling another's pain, joy, or fear, you invite your own humanity into the moment. Yet this is also the source of your strength. When you stay present without distraction, you begin to notice what others often hide, even from themselves. You pick up on subtle cues of tension, hesitation, or excitement. You sense the unspoken fears or hopes that color their words. This is not magic, it is deep listening combined with emotional attunement. Your body becomes a receiver of signals that go beyond language. The way their chest rises and falls, the small tremor in their hands, the tightening around their eyes, all of these show you their inner world. As you tune in, you start to feel the emotional weight they carry. That feeling is the bridge between separation and connection. Feeling what others feel also requires emotional regulation on your part. It is easy to get swept away by another person's intensity and lose your own balance. The goal is not to absorb their emotions, but to hold space for them. Imagine being a calm lake reflecting the sky rather than a storm-tossed sea. When you maintain calm and groundedness while sensing the other person's emotions, you become a safe presence. That safety allows the other person to release tension and speak honestly. This kind of emotional balance builds trust and opens doors that words alone cannot. Your breath is a powerful anchor to stay present. When you feel your mind drifting or your emotions rising, returning to slow, steady breathing can bring you back to the moment. Breathing deeply connects your body and mind and signals to your nervous system that you are safe and grounded. This calm presence is contagious. When you remain centered, others feel it too. They lower their guard and allow themselves to be more real. This shared moment of openness is the foundation of genuine understanding. Presence also means letting go of the urge to fix, judge, or advise. Too often we listen with the intent to solve or prove a point rather than to understand. But when you stay fully present, you listen with curiosity and acceptance. You allow the other person's feelings to be exactly as they are, without trying to change them. This non-judgmental stance invites honesty and vulnerability. It tells people that they can be themselves without fear of rejection. That invitation is priceless because it nurtures authentic connection. Another key aspect of presence is patience. Sometimes people need time to find the words for what they feel. They may stumble, pause, or circle around their emotions. Staying present means holding the space for them without rushing or interrupting. It means being comfortable with silence and stillness. These moments often contain more meaning than words. When you resist the urge to fill the silence, you encourage others to open deeper. You communicate that you value their experience enough to wait for it to unfold naturally. The ability to stay fully present strengthens with practice. Begin by dedicating short periods each day to focused attention. When you talk to someone, make a conscious decision to listen with your whole self. Notice when your mind wanders and gently bring it back. Observe the subtle changes in the other person's face, voice, and posture. As you build this skill, your empathy deepens. You move from intellectual understanding to emotional resonance. You start to experience connection, not as a task, but as a natural way of being. Staying present also enhances your own self-awareness. When you quiet your mind and tune into others, you learn to notice your own emotional responses. This awareness helps you regulate your feelings and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Presence is not about erasing your emotions, but about managing them with discipline. It creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, you choose your words and actions with intention and care. That is the essence of emotional mastery. Being fully present has practical benefits beyond emotional connection. It improves the quality of your decisions, your relationships, and your leadership. When you understand what others feel, you communicate more effectively and build stronger alliances. You anticipate needs and avoid misunderstandings. You become someone people trust because you consistently respond with awareness and respect. These qualities open doors in every area of life. Sometimes staying present means facing discomfort. You may encounter strong emotions like anger or grief. It can be tempting to look away or change the subject, but true presence calls you to remain steady. When you meet difficult feelings without avoidance, you build resilience. You develop the courage to sit with pain and uncertainty. This courage inspires others and sets a foundation for healing. Presence is a quiet form of strength that transforms hardship into growth. It is important to remember that presence is a choice. It is a moment-to-moment decision to be here now. It is not something you either have or don't have. Even the most skilled listeners lose presence at times. What matters is your willingness to return again and again. Each moment you recommit, you strengthen this muscle of attention. You deepen your capacity to feel what others feel and respond with kindness and clarity. Over time, this practice changes how you relate to the world. You become more compassionate, patient, and wise. You see people as whole beings with complex emotions rather than as obstacles or problems. This shift transforms your interactions and enriches your life. You move from surface-level conversations to authentic exchanges that nourish your spirit and theirs. That is the power of staying fully present. Presence is the gateway to true understanding. When you open yourself to another's feelings without distraction or judgment, you touch the essence of connection. You become a witness to their humanity and invite them to witness yours. This shared presence breaks down barriers and creates a space where transformation happens. It is in these moments that lives change. Relationships deepen and understanding becomes instant and real. To cultivate this skill, practice mindfulness in everyday life. Notice your breath, your body, and your thoughts throughout the day. When you talk with others, slow down and listen with your full attention. Resist the urge to multitask or plan your next move. Allow yourself to be fully here. The rewards of this discipline are immense. Deeper empathy, stronger bonds, and a clearer sense of self. The ability to feel what others feel is a gift that anyone can develop. It requires commitment, patience, and courage, but it also brings profound fulfillment. To be truly present is to give the greatest gift you can offer another human being, your full self. And in that gift lies the power to understand anyone instantly. Chapter 10. Notice patterns in behavior to read people fast. People reveal who they are not only in what they say, but in what they do repeatedly. Patterns in behavior tell stories that words alone cannot convey. When you learn to notice these patterns, you gain the ability to understand people quickly and deeply. This skill is not about judgment or labeling, but about observing and interpreting the consistent ways someone acts, reacts, and interacts. Patterns show underlying beliefs, fears, desires, and coping mechanisms. Recognizing them allows you to anticipate responses, communicate more effectively, and build stronger connections. Behavioral patterns form because they serve a purpose. People develop habits as strategies to navigate their world, often unconsciously. For example, someone who always withdraws when stressed may have learned this to protect themselves from conflict or disappointment. Another person who frequently changes topics might be avoiding vulnerability. These recurring behaviors are signals that reveal what matters most to a person and where their emotional boundaries lie. When you pay attention to these patterns, you begin to read the map of their inner world. Observing patterns requires consistent attention over time. A single action or reaction rarely tells the full story. You need to watch for repetition in different contexts. Notice how a person behaves under pressure, with friends, at work, or in intimate moments. Do they respond with calm or agitation? Do they listen or interrupt? Do they seek connection or push others away? These repeated behaviors create a portrait of how they experience life and relate to others. The more you observe, the clearer the picture becomes. Patterns also reveal emotional triggers. When you see someone reacting strongly to a particular situation, it often points to past wounds or unmet needs. For instance, if a person always becomes defensive when given feedback, it suggests sensitivity around criticism. Recognizing these triggers helps you approach conversations with empathy and care. You learn what to avoid or how to frame your words to minimize conflict. This awareness reduces misunderstandings and builds trust. Noticing patterns sharpens your intuition. Over time, you develop a sense for what is genuine and what is performative. People sometimes wear masks to protect themselves, but their habitual behaviors often leak through. You begin to see beyond surface appearances and catch inconsistency. This ability protects you from being misled and guides you toward authentic connections. Intuition grounded in observation is a powerful tool in understanding others instantly. Patterns also shape the way people make decisions and solve problems. Some individuals respond to challenges with resilience and creativity, while others freeze or withdraw. By watching these tendencies, you can predict how they might react in future situations. This insight allows you to communicate more effectively and offer support where it is truly needed. It helps you avoid frustration by setting realistic expectations about others' responses. Understanding patterns requires you to suspend quick judgments. At first glance, some behaviors might seem negative or confusing. However, every pattern serves a function for the individual. They are adaptations, sometimes born out of past trauma or survival needs. When you approach patterns with curiosity instead of criticism, you open the door to compassion. You begin to see people not as problems to fix, but as humans trying their best with the tools they have. Tracking patterns also gives you feedback about your own behavior. When you notice how others respond to you consistently, you can identify your own patterns. Perhaps you interrupt when nervous or avoid certain topics. Awareness of your habits allows you to make conscious changes. This self-reflection improves your relationships and enhances your ability to understand others. Connection begins with knowing yourself. In practical terms, start by observing without interrupting. Watch how people behave in different situations. Notice the tone they use, their body language, and their facial expressions. Record these observations mentally or in a journal if possible. After several encounters, review what you have noticed. Are there themes or repeated actions? What emotions seem connected to these behaviors? This process builds a map of their personality and emotional landscape. Look for clusters of behaviors rather than isolated actions. For example, someone who is consistently late, distracted, and avoids eye contact might be dealing with anxiety or disinterest. Another person who frequently smiles, leans in, and maintains open posture likely feels engaged and comfortable. By connecting these dots, you decode the messages behind the behaviors. You begin to understand how they see the world and what they value. Patterns can also reveal how people handle stress and conflict. Do they confront problems directly or avoid them? Do they seek help or go inward? Recognizing these tendencies prepares you for how to approach difficult conversation. You can tailor your responses to create safety and reduce resistance. This skill is invaluable in both personal and professional relationships. Being patient is key when noticing patterns. People are complex and multidimensional. Patterns evolve and shift over time. What may seem like a fixed behavior could be a temporary coping mechanism. You must allow space for growth and change. Your observations are not labels, but guides that help you navigate human complexity with humility. Patterns also highlight what motivates people. Someone who regularly volunteers, offers help, and expresses gratitude likely values connection and service. Another who often talks about achievements and competition may be driven by recognition and success. These insights help you engage in conversations that resonate deeply. You show respect for what matters to them, which builds rapport quickly. The ability to read patterns enhances emotional intelligence. You become more aware of subtle cues and underlying dynamics. You can sense shifts in mood or energy before they are spoken. This early detection allows you to respond thoughtfully and avoid unnecessary conflict. It creates smoother interactions and more meaningful exchanges. Noticing patterns requires balancing observation with empathy. You don't just catalog behaviors, you seek to understand the person behind them. Ask yourself what life experiences might have shaped these habits. Consider the fears, hopes, and values that drive them. This deeper understanding enriches your perspective and fosters genuine connection. This skill is especially useful in new relationships or brief encounters. When time is limited, you can still pick up on repeated behaviors that reveal essential truths. Even in casual conversations, pay attention to recurring themes or emotional responses. These clues help you form accurate impressions quickly without jumping to conclusions. Patterns can also inform how you set boundaries. When you recognize behaviors that repeatedly cause discomfort or harm, you can protect yourself more effectively. You understand when to engage and when to step back. This discernment builds resilience and preserves your well-being while maintaining empathy. To develop this skill, practice mindful observation daily. Notice how people behave in public, at work, or with friends. Reflect on what those behaviors might mean and how they relate to emotions or experiences. Over time, you build a mental database of human behavior that sharpens your understanding and speeds your insights. Reading patterns is not about control or manipulation, it is about respect and connection. It honors the complexity of human nature and invites you to meet people where they are. This awareness deepens your relationships and enriches your life with authentic understanding. As you become skilled at noticing behavioral patterns, you find yourself navigating social situations with confidence and grace. You avoid misunderstandings and communicate with clarity. People respond positively because you see them fully and respond to their true needs. That level of understanding creates harmony and trust. In summary, behavioral patterns are the roadmap to a person's inner world. Observing them carefully gives you the power to understand quickly and deeply. This skill requires attention, patience, and empathy, but offers profound reward. When you notice patterns in behavior, you unlock a deeper level of connection that goes beyond words and appearances. It allows you to understand anyone instantly and respond with wisdom and kindness. Chapter 11. Respect silence to learn what words can't say. Silence is one of the most powerful yet often overlooked tools in understanding others. Words are valuable, but they only tell part of the story. True communication happens in the spaces between the words, the pauses, the hesitations, the quiet moments that carry meaning beyond speech. Learning to respect silence means recognizing that what is unsaid can reveal more than what is spoken. Silence holds emotions, thoughts, and truths that words cannot fully express. When you become comfortable with silence and learn to honor it, you open yourself to a deeper understanding of others and the complexity of human experience. Many people rush to fill silence because it feels uncomfortable or awkward. In conversations, silence is often perceived as a gap to be filled, a sign of disconnect or even failure to communicate effectively. But this reaction misses the profound value of silence as a form of expression. Silence gives space for reflection, processing, and emotional presence. It creates a pause for both speaker and listener to absorb what has been said and to prepare for what is next. Respecting silence means resisting the urge to interrupt, explain, or fix, and instead allowing the moment to breathe. When someone chooses silence, they might be feeling overwhelmed, uncertain, or vulnerable. They may be wrestling with emotions they cannot yet put into words, or protecting themselves from being misunderstood. Rather than rushing to fill the void, accepting their silence with patience demonstrates empathy and respect. It signals that you value their experience without pressuring them to perform or conform. This acceptance creates a safe container where deeper truths can emerge naturally over time. Silence also acts as a mirror reflecting internal states. The weight of a pause, the length of hesitation, and the absence of speech convey unspoken messages. A quiet moment might express grief, confusion, shame, or hesitation without any verbal explanation. Learning to listen to silence involves tuning into these subtle signals with curiosity and openness. Notice the changes in breathing, facial expressions, and body posture that accompany silence. These non-verbal cues enrich your understanding and help you sense what is beneath the surface. In many situations, silence precedes breakthrough or clarity. When people take a moment to be silent, they create mental space for insight and emotional processing. Interrupting that silence too soon can cut off their ability to articulate their true feelings or thoughts. Allowing silence to unfold naturally invites patience and trust in the process of communication. It shows confidence that understanding will come in its own time rather than forcing it prematurely. Respecting silence also means embracing discomfort. Silence can feel heavy or tense, especially when difficult topics arise. The impulse to speak quickly to ease tension is strong, but often unhelpful. Sitting with discomfort in silence allows emotions to settle and defenses to lower. It creates a moment of calm in which honesty can surface. This calm presence encourages others to open up without fear of judgment or interruption. When you respect silence, you also deepen your own self-awareness. Being comfortable with quiet moments requires you to observe your own reactions and resist the need for control. You become more mindful of how your desire to fill silence might stem from discomfort with vulnerability or uncertainty. This self-reflection enhances your emotional intelligence and strengthens your ability to hold space for others. In practical terms, honoring silence means learning when to pause and how to wait. After someone speaks, count to 3 before responding. Notice if the silence feels natural or forced. If the person seems hesitant, allow extra time without changing the subject or adding commentary. Resist the temptation to interpret or guess what they mean immediately. Instead, simply remain present and attentive. This patient presence invites deeper sharing and shows respect for the speaker's pace. Silence also plays a crucial role in conflict resolution. In heated moments, silence can prevent escalation by giving everyone time to cool down and gather their thoughts. It stops reactive patterns and opens the door for more thoughtful responses. Using silence intentionally in tense conversations can create a space where emotions are acknowledged without being acted upon impulsively. This restraint is a sign of strength and maturity. Another way to respect silence is through nonverbal communication. A nod, a gentle touch, or steady eye contact during pauses reassures the other person that you are engaged and supportive, even when no words are spoken. These silent affirmations strengthen connection and build trust. They communicate that you are present, not just in speech, but in being. Learning to respect silence also means embracing the unknown. Silence holds mystery and ambiguity. It resists easy answers and demands patience with uncertainty. When you accept this, you become more comfortable with the complexity of human emotions and relationships. You stop rushing to resolve everything quickly and instead allow deeper understanding to unfold gradually. This openness enriches your connections and expands your emotional capacity. Cultivating a relationship with silence requires practice. Start by becoming aware of your own reactions to quiet moments. Notice when you feel uncomfortable or compelled to speak. Experiment with sitting quietly with others without rushing to fill the space. Observe how your presence influences the atmosphere and the flow of conversation. Over time, you build confidence in the power of silence as a bridge to true understanding. Respecting silence also challenges the cultural norms that prioritize constant talking and quick answers. In a world that often values speed and noise, silence is a radical act of listening and patience. It reminds us that communication is not just about exchange of information, but about presence and connection. When you honor silence, you slow down time and create moments of depth in your interactions. This practice has a profound impact on your relationships. People feel more valued when they are allowed to speak at their own pace or to remain quiet without pressure. They experience you as someone who respects their inner world and honors their emotional process. This trust invites vulnerability and openness, which are the foundation of any meaningful connection. In moments of silence, you also create space for your own insights. By not rushing to respond, you give yourself time to process and reflect. This leads to wiser, more thoughtful communication. You become less reactive and more intentional. Your words gain weight because they come from a place of true understanding rather than impulsive response. Respecting silence teaches humility. It reminds you that not everything needs to be explained or fixed immediately. Some things require time and quiet contemplation to be fully grasped. This acceptance frees you from the illusion of control and deepens your capacity for empathy. It fosters a sense of peace in the face of uncertainty and complexity. Ultimately, silence is a language of its own. It speaks of trust, respect, patience, and presence. Learning to listen to silence and honor its messages unlocks a new dimension of understanding. It allows you to connect with people not just through words, but through shared human experience. This connection goes beyond surface conversation and touches the heart of what it means to be truly seen and heard. In daily life, practice letting silence be a natural part of your conversation. Notice how the rhythm of speaking and quietness flows. Trust that silence is not empty, but full of possibility. Use it to deepen your awareness and presence. In doing so, you cultivate the rare and invaluable gift of truly understanding others beyond what words can say. Chapter 12. Detach your ego to understand without judgment. Understanding others without judgment demands the ability to detach from your own ego. The ego often clouds perception, coloring every interaction with personal biases, defensiveness, or the need to be right. When ego dominates, listening turns into waiting for your turn to speak, and comprehension is blocked by assumptions and preconceptions. Detaching your ego creates space for genuine empathy and clarity. It frees you from the pressure to prove yourself or control the narrative, allowing you to see others as they truly are, rather than through the lens of your own fears and desires. Ego attachment is a natural human tendency rooted in self-preservation. It wants to protect your identity, defend your beliefs, and maintain your sense of importance. But this protective instinct often erects walls between you and others. When you approach conversations with ego-driven thoughts, you filter what you hear through judgments, comparisons, or personal agendas. This filtering distorts reality and prevents true understanding. Learning to step back from these internal voices is the first step toward detaching your ego. Detachment does not mean disengagement or indifference. It means observing your thoughts and feelings without identifying with them. Imagine watching your ego as if it were a separate entity. Notice when it tries to interrupt, criticize, or dominate the conversation. Recognize these moments and gently shift your focus back to the other person's experience. This practice strengthens your ability to listen with an open mind and heart. It helps you respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Detaching your ego also requires humility. It asks you to acknowledge that you do not have all the answers and that your perspective is limited. This humility opens you to new information and different ways of seeing the world. It softens rigid opinions and allows curiosity to replace defensiveness. When you let go of the need to be right, you create space for authentic dialogue and mutual learning. Without ego, you can approach others with compassion instead of judgment. You recognize that everyone is shaped by their history, struggles, and fears. Instead of labeling behavior as good or bad, you see it as an expression of their humanity. This compassionate stance deepens your connection and reduces conflict. It invites trust because people sense that you accept them without conditions or criticism. Detachment also improves emotional regulation. When ego is engaged, emotional reactions often run high. Anger, pride, frustration, or defensiveness flare quickly. By stepping back from these reactions, you maintain calm and clarity. You become less reactive and more reflective. This emotional steadiness allows you to listen fully and respond with wisdom. It also models maturity and self-control, encouraging others to lower their defenses. In practical terms, begin by noticing when your ego interferes with understanding. Pay attention to moments of impatience, judgment, or the urge to interrupt. When these arise, pause and take a breath. Remind yourself that your role is to listen, not to dominate. Shift your focus from proving your point to genuinely hearing the other person. This simple awareness transforms the quality of your interaction. Another key practice is asking open-ended questions without an agenda. When you ask with curiosity rather than to confirm your beliefs, you encourage honest sharing. These questions show respect for the other person's perspective and create a safe space for dialogue. Avoid questions that trap or challenge. Instead, invite exploration and reflection. Letting go of ego also means accepting silence and uncertainty. You may not immediately understand or agree with what others say. Resist the urge to fill gaps with assumptions or judgments. Instead, hold the space for complexity and nuance. This patience deepens your insight and honors the uniqueness of each individual. Detaching your ego enhances your ability to recognize your own biases. Everyone carries unconscious assumptions shaped by culture, upbringing, and experience. Becoming aware of these biases prevents them from distorting your perception. It sharpens your ability to see others clearly and fairly. This self-awareness is essential for honest connection. This practice also improves your resilience. When ego is not involved, criticism or disagreement feels less personal. You can listen openly without feeling attacked or diminished. This resilience allows you to maintain relationships through challenges and disagreements. It builds emotional strength that supports ongoing growth and connection. Detachment cultivates a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Instead of fearing loss of status or control, you embrace collaboration and shared understanding. You see conversations as opportunities to learn and grow, not battles to win. This shift fosters generosity of spirit and openness to others. Detaching ego helps you avoid common communication traps like defensiveness or projection. Without ego, you don't take things personally or project your fears onto others. You can separate your sense of self from their words and actions. This clarity reduces misunderstandings and promotes harmony. Over time, practicing ego detachment transforms how you relate to yourself as well. You become less judgmental and more forgiving of your own mistakes and limitations. This self-compassion reinforces your ability to accept others. Understanding begins within, and your relationship with yourself sets the tone for all other connections. This skill is especially vital in emotionally charged situations. When conversations become intense, ego tends to dominate and escalate conflict. By consciously stepping back and detaching, you diffuse tension. You respond from a place of calm reason rather than reactive emotion. This approach creates room for resolution and mutual respect. Detaching your ego requires consistent effort. It is easy to slip back into old habits of defensiveness or control. Each interaction is an opportunity to practice and strengthen this skill. The more you do, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, detachment becomes a default state that enhances every conversation. When ego is detached, listening becomes a gift rather than a task. You listen not to respond but to understand fully. Your presence conveys respect, acceptance, and genuine interest. This quality draws people in and deepens relationships. It makes communication richer and more meaningful. This approach also supports your personal growth. Letting go of ego opens you to feedback and different viewpoints. You learn from others and expand your worldview. This openness fosters wisdom and adaptability. It makes you a better friend, partner, colleague, and leader. Ultimately, detaching your ego to understand without judgment frees you from the limits of self-centered thinking. It allows you to meet people where they are with kindness and clarity. It reveals the common humanity beneath differences and disagreements. This practice transforms relationships and enriches your life with deeper connection and peace. Committing to this path means choosing awareness over automatic reaction. It means cultivating patience with yourself and others. It means valuing understanding above winning. This commitment creates a foundation for lasting change. It empowers you to connect instantly and authentically with anyone you meet. Chapter 13. Train empathy to connect with people in pain. Connecting with people in pain requires more than sympathy. It demands cultivated empathy that reaches beyond surface understanding. Empathy is the ability to feel with others, to enter their emotional experience without losing oneself. Training empathy is essential for truly understanding those who suffer, offering support that is meaningful and healing. This skill is not innate for everyone, but it can be developed with intention and practice. When empathy is strengthened, it bridges emotional divides, breaks isolation, and fosters genuine connection even in the darkest moments. Pain often isolates people, making them feel misunderstood or alone. When someone is hurting, words may fail or feel insufficient. Empathy steps in as a powerful force that validates their experience without judgment or quick fixes. To train empathy, you must first cultivate presence. Being fully present means offering your complete attention, free from distractions or agendas. Presence signals respect and care, creating a safe emotional space where pain can be shared and received. Developing empathy begins with active listening. This means hearing not just the words, but the emotions beneath them. Listen with the intent to understand rather than respond. Notice the tone, pauses, and what remains unsaid. This deep listening opens channels to the true experience of pain and suffering. It allows you to tune into the other person's emotional frequency without interference from your own thoughts or assumptions. Empathy requires humility. It asks you to set aside your own perspectives and acknowledge that you cannot fully know another's pain. This acceptance prevents the urge to minimize or compare suffering. Avoid phrases like "I know exactly how you feel" or "it could be worse." Instead, recognize the uniqueness of their journey. This humility fosters trust because it respects the individual's reality rather than imposing your narrative. Emotional imagination is a vital tool in empathy training. This is the capacity to imagine yourself in someone else's situation, feeling what they feel without becoming overwhelmed. Practice visualizing scenarios and emotions honestly and compassionately. This exercise builds your emotional muscles and sensitivity to others' experiences. It prepares you to respond with greater understanding and kindness in real encounters. Empathy also involves managing your own emotional boundaries. Connecting with pain can stir strong feelings, such as sadness, helplessness, or frustration. It is important to feel these emotions without being consumed by them. Cultivate resilience through self-care practices like mindfulness, reflection, and rest. Healthy boundaries ensure that your empathy remains a source of strength rather than burnout. This balance allows you to be fully available without losing yourself in others' suffering. Responding empathetically goes beyond listening. It includes thoughtful verbal and non-verbal communication. Validate feelings by acknowledging them openly. Simple affirmations like "that sounds really hard" or "I can see why you feel that way" show recognition without judgment. Your body language, such as nodding, eye contact, or gentle touch, reinforces your understanding and care. These responses build a bridge of safety and acceptance. Patience is essential in empathetic connection. People in pain may need time to process emotions, or may withdraw temporarily. Respect their pace without pushing for explanations or solutions. Sometimes the deepest gift is your calm, steady presence that says, "I am here," even in silence. This patient support helps ease isolation and fosters healing over time. Training empathy also means practicing curiosity about pain rather than fear or avoidance. Many people shy away from suffering because it feels uncomfortable or threatening. Overcoming this resistance allows you to meet others with openness rather than denial. Approach conversations about pain with gentle questions that invite sharing without pressure. This openness encourages honesty and deepens your understanding. Reflecting feelings back to the person enhances empathy. When you articulate what you sense they are experiencing, it helps them feel seen and heard. This mirroring shows that you are attuned to their emotions and fosters mutual connection. It also clarifies understanding, reducing misinterpretations that can increase distress. Empathy grows stronger when you engage with diverse perspectives and experiences. Exposure to different cultures, life stories, and challenges broadens your capacity to understand pain in its many forms. Seek out books, films, or conversations that expand your awareness. This ongoing education builds empathy muscles and enriches your ability to connect across differences. It is important to recognize the limits of empathy. You cannot fix someone's pain or carry their burden. Empathy is about presence, validation, and support, not rescue. Accepting this boundary prevents frustration and preserves the integrity of the connection. True empathy honors the autonomy and strength of the person suffering. In moments of intense pain, empathy can be transformative. It can dissolve loneliness, reduce shame, and foster hope. Knowing that someone truly understands can alleviate the weight of suffering. Your empathetic presence becomes a source of light and strength that empowers others to face challenges with courage. Consistent practice deepens empathy. Engage regularly in conversations where you focus on truly understanding emotions. Reflect afterward on what you learned and how you responded. This mindful repetition rewires your brain to be more attuned and compassionate naturally. Over time, empathy becomes an effortless part of how you relate to others. Empathy also enhances your own emotional well-being. When you connect authentically with others, it nurtures feelings of belonging and purpose. It breaks down barriers of isolation and enriches your life with meaningful relationships. The act of giving empathy often returns to you in the form of support when you need it most. Training empathy to connect with people in pain transforms your ability to understand anyone instantly. It moves beyond intellectual knowledge to emotional resonance. This deeper connection creates bonds that heal and sustain. It turns communication into a shared human experience filled with compassion and respect. In daily life, practice noticing when someone may be hurting even if they do not say it. Offer presence and gentle inquiry without assumptions. Honor their feelings and let silence be part of the exchange. This approach nurtures trust and invites openness. Ultimately, empathy requires courage. It means stepping into uncomfortable emotional territory with an open heart. This courage breaks down walls and builds bridges. It transforms how you relate to pain in others and yourself. Building this skill changes your relationships. People sense when you truly understand and respond with empathy. It fosters connection, deepens trust, and promotes healing. Empathy is the foundation of meaningful human connection and the key to understanding anyone instantly. Chapter 14. Look beyond words to sense hidden intentions. Understanding people fully requires moving past their spoken words to sense the intentions that lie beneath. Words are only one layer of communication. People often say what they think is expected, hide their true desires, or even deceive to protect themselves or achieve goals. To truly understand anyone instantly, learning to read between the lines and perceive hidden intentions is essential. This skill demands attention to subtle clues, awareness of context, and a disciplined mind that resists accepting everything at face value. The spoken message is sometimes a carefully crafted facade designed to influence, avoid conflict, or mask vulnerability. People rarely reveal their full truth immediately, especially in unfamiliar or emotionally charged situations. Recognizing this helps you remain alert to what is not said, but implied. When you look beyond words, you begin to perceive the undercurrents of meaning that shape behavior and communication. One of the first steps to sensing hidden intentions is cultivating deep observation. Watch how words align with action. Inconsistencies between speech and behavior often indicate concealed motives or conflicting feelings. If someone promises one thing but consistently behaves otherwise, it suggests their true intention lies outside their verbal message. Noticing these discrepancies sharpens your understanding and guards against being misled. Context is a vital factor in interpreting hidden intentions. The same words can mean very different things depending on the situation, the person's history, and the relationship dynamics. Pay attention to timing, environment, and the emotional tone surrounding the conversation. For example, a compliment might be genuine appreciation or a strategic attempt to gain favor. Understanding the context allows you to weigh the likelihood of various intentions behind the words. Tone of voice and delivery also reveal much about underlying intentions. A hesitant, rushed, or overly rehearsed statement can signal discomfort or concealment. Conversely, a calm and steady tone often reflects honesty and openness. Listening carefully to vocal cues helps you detect emotional undercurrents that words alone cannot express. These nuances enrich your perception and provide clues to true intentions. Nonverbal communication is equally important. Facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, and posture often betray what someone tries to hide verbally. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes or crossed arms during an apology suggests mixed feelings or insincerity. Learning to read these signs enhances your ability to sense hidden motives quickly and accurately. People's choice of language also offers insight into intentions. Vague, evasive, or overly complex explanations can indicate reluctance to disclose the full truth. Pay attention to what is omitted as much as what is said. Silence around certain topics may reveal discomfort or secrets. Asking gentle, direct follow-up questions encourages clarification and reduces ambiguity. Suspicious or guarded language often masks fear, shame, or mistrust. Understanding that hidden intentions sometimes arise from self-protection rather than malice fosters empathy. When you sense defensive motives, respond with patience and openness instead of confrontation. This approach encourages honesty and reduces the need for concealment. Reflect on your own biases and assumptions when interpreting hidden intentions. It is easy to project your fears or desires onto others, creating false narratives. Maintain a disciplined and curious mindset that tests interpretations against evidence rather than jumping to conclusions. Balance intuition with rational assessment to avoid misreading situations. Recognizing hidden intentions also means understanding human needs and motivations. People act based on desires for security, recognition, control, or connection. By identifying these driving forces, you can better infer why someone says what they do. This understanding allows you to respond more effectively and navigate conversations with greater skill. Sometimes, hidden intentions are positive but unspoken. People may withhold praise or affection due to pride or cultural norms. Others may avoid expressing vulnerability out of fear of rejection. Being sensitive to these subtleties enables you to create a safe space where hidden positive intentions can surface over time. Developing this skill enhances your ability to build trust. When others sense that you perceive their true intentions without judgment, they are more likely to open up honestly. This deepens relationships and improves communication. It shifts interactions from superficial exchanges to meaningful connections. Practically, start by slowing down your listening process. Instead of focusing solely on content, observe how things are said and what is left unsaid. Take mental notes of inconsistencies or emotional cues. Resist the urge to react immediately. Instead, gather information patiently before forming judgments. Ask clarifying questions that invite transparency. Phrase inquiries to express genuine curiosity, such as, "Can you tell me more about that?" or "What led you to feel this way?" These questions encourage people to reveal deeper layers of thought and feeling without feeling accused or pressured. Trust your instincts, but verify them through observation and dialogue. Intuition is a valuable tool but must be balanced with careful attention and respectful inquiry. Developing this balance improves accuracy in reading hidden intentions. Avoid jumping to negative conclusions. Not all hidden intentions are manipulative or deceitful. Some arise from complexity or uncertainty. Approach ambiguity with openness and a willingness to understand rather than condemn. Practice this skill in everyday interactions. Observe colleagues, friends, and family members with curiosity about their unspoken motives. Notice how your understanding deepens when you pay attention beyond words. Reflect on the outcomes and adjust your approach accordingly. Sensing hidden intentions also helps in conflict resolution. Recognizing underlying fears or unmet needs behind defensive language allows you to address root causes rather than surface disputes. This awareness fosters empathy and problem solving. Developing the ability to look beyond words transforms your communication and relationships. It empowers you to engage with people more authentically and effectively. You gain insight into what truly drives behavior, enabling wiser choices and deeper connection. This skill requires continuous practice and refinement. The complexity of human communication means there is always more to learn. Commit to lifelong curiosity and openness. Over time, your capacity to sense hidden intentions will become second nature, enriching every interaction. Ultimately, looking beyond words reveals the rich and often messy reality of human experience. It invites you to see people fully, with their contradictions and complexities. This deeper vision fosters understanding that is immediate, profound, and transformative. Chapter 15. Practice patience to understand people who resist you. Understanding people who resist you requires a commitment to patience that often tests the limits of your discipline and empathy. Resistance can arise for many reasons: fear, mistrust, pride, past hurts, or simply a reluctance to open up. When someone pushes back against your efforts to connect, it can feel frustrating, even discouraging. However, patience is the key to breaking through these barriers. It allows you to remain steady, calm, and respectful, creating the conditions necessary for genuine understanding to develop over time. Resistance is often a protective mechanism. People erect walls to shield themselves from perceived threats or vulnerability. This resistance does not necessarily reflect who they are at their core, but rather their current state of mind or emotional pain. Recognizing this truth is vital because it shifts your focus from trying to force connection to nurturing a safe space where trust can grow. Patience is the quality that holds this space open without pressure or judgment. When faced with resistance, the immediate impulse might be to respond with frustration, impatience, or even withdrawal. These reactions only reinforce barriers and escalate tension. Instead, practicing patience requires a conscious decision to pause and observe without reacting impulsively. This pause allows you to choose a response rooted in understanding and respect, rather than ego-driven need for control or validation. Patience means accepting that understanding others is a gradual process. Some people take longer to reveal their true selves or to lower defenses. This timeline is outside your control and must be honored. Trying to rush this process undermines trust and can push people further away. Accepting the pace that others set shows humility and respect for their boundaries. Patience also involves managing your own expectations. Let go of the desire for immediate results or clear answers. Instead, focus on consistent small gestures of openness and kindness that demonstrate your willingness to listen and be present. Over time, these small actions build credibility and soften resistance. Active listening is a powerful tool to practice patience. When someone resists, giving them your full attention without interruption or persuasion conveys respect. Listening attentively sends the message that you value their voice regardless of their defensiveness. This validation often encourages people to open up more when they feel genuinely heard. Respond with empathy rather than argument. Resist the temptation to correct or challenge defensive statements immediately. Instead, acknowledge the feelings behind resistance, such as fear or skepticism. Saying things like, "I can see this is difficult for you," or "it sounds like you've been hurt before," validates their experience and reduces hostility. Silence can be a patient ally. Sometimes the most impactful response to resistance is simply being there without filling the space with words. Holding quiet presence allows the other person to feel safe and unpressured. This calmness can gradually dissolve tension and invite openness. Be mindful of your body language. Open, relaxed posture and gentle eye contact communicate patience and acceptance non-verbally. Avoid signs of impatience like checking the time or crossing your arms. Your physical demeanor speaks volumes about your willingness to wait and understand. Recognize that resistance often masks deeper vulnerabilities. Behind defensive behavior are unmet needs or past wounds. Training yourself to see these layers fosters compassion. Instead of seeing resistance as a personal affront, interpret it as a call for care and understanding. Adapt your communication style to meet resistant individuals where they are. Some people respond better to gentle questions, others to reassurance or space. Observing their cues and adjusting accordingly shows respect and flexibility, which encourages gradual trust. Avoid labeling resistant behavior as bad or difficult. Such judgments create distance and feed frustration. Instead, view resistance as a natural part of human complexity. This mindset shift reduces emotional reactivity and promotes patience. Stay consistent in your behavior. Repeatedly showing up with patience and respect builds a foundation for change. Even if progress seems slow or invisible, your steady presence plants seeds of trust that may bloom unexpectedly. Patience strengthens your resilience. When you accept resistance as part of the journey, you become less discouraged by setbacks. This endurance fuels long-term connection rather than short-lived wins. Self-awareness supports patient understanding. Notice when your frustration rises and use mindful breathing or mental pauses to regain calm. This self-regulation prevents impatience from sabotaging the interaction. Set healthy boundaries while practicing patience. Being patient does not mean tolerating disrespect or abuse. Know when to protect your own well-being while maintaining openness. Clear boundaries create a safe environment for both parties. Remember that patience benefits you as much as the other person. Cultivating this virtue enhances your emotional intelligence, empathy, and inner peace. It makes you a better listener and a more effective communicator overall. When resistance persists, reflect on your approach without self-blame. Consider whether your timing, tone, or questions might unintentionally trigger defensiveness. Adjusting your methods increases the chance of breaking through barriers. Celebrate small breakthroughs and moments of openness. Recognizing incremental progress reinforces your commitment to patience. Each step forward, no matter how minor, is a victory. Maintain hope grounded in reality. Believe that understanding is possible even if it takes time. This realistic optimism motivates ongoing effort without unrealistic expectations. Learning to be patient with resistant people transforms your relationships profoundly. It turns obstacles into opportunities for growth and deepens your capacity to connect authentically. This skill applies in all areas of life: family, work, friendships, and beyond. Practicing patience expands your ability to navigate complex human dynamics with grace. Ultimately, patience opens doors to understanding that force cannot. It teaches humility, compassion, and perseverance. These qualities enrich your character and empower you to understand anyone instantly. Chapter 16. Adjust your energy to match the person's state. Every interaction holds an energy unique to the people involved, shaped by emotions, moods, and intentions. To truly understand anyone instantly, learning to adjust your energy to match the other person's state is essential. This alignment creates rapport, builds trust, and fosters deeper connection. Matching energy is not about losing yourself or mirroring mechanically. It's a conscious, empathetic response that tunes you into the present moment and the person before you. Human beings naturally respond to energy. When someone enters a room, their emotional vibration is palpable. This invisible current influences how others feel and react. If your energy clashes with theirs, misunderstandings and resistance often arise. Conversely, when you calibrate your energy to theirs, it feels like you are speaking the same language without words. This harmony opens doors to genuine understanding. Adjusting your energy begins with keen observation. Notice the pace of their speech, their volume, posture, and facial expressions. Are they tense or relaxed, energetic or drained, anxious or calm? These clues provide valuable data about their emotional state. Your task is to meet them where they are, not where you want them to be. Matching someone's energy involves regulating your own state. If the other person is quiet and reflective, lower your volume and slow your pace. If they are excited and animated, bring more enthusiasm to your tone and gestures. This synchronization shows that you are present and responsive. It makes the person feel under subconscious level. The goal is not mimicry, but attunement. Your energy should complement theirs, creating balance rather than echoing every detail. For instance, if someone is agitated, meeting their intensity with equal force might escalate tension. Instead, adopt a grounded calm that acknowledges their state without fueling it. This subtle shift helps them feel seen and supported rather than challenged. Energy adjustment requires emotional intelligence and self-awareness. You must first know your own baseline, how you typically express emotions and energy, so you can consciously adapt. This awareness prevents automatic reactions and enables deliberate modulation. It also protects you from absorbing negative energy or becoming overwhelmed. Empathy is the foundation of energy matching. When you genuinely care about the other person's experience, tuning your energy becomes natural. It is an act of respect that says, "I see you as you are." This acceptance fosters safety and openness, essential for true understanding. Sometimes adjusting energy means increasing your presence. If someone is withdrawn or distracted, raising your energy slightly can help draw them out gently. Use warm eye contact, open posture, and a friendly tone. These signals invite engagement without pressure. Conversely, when a person is overwhelmed or upset, lowering your energy can provide a calming anchor. Speak softly, breathe steadily, and move deliberately. This steady presence offers reassurance and helps regulate emotional intensity. Energy adjustment also involves pacing your interaction to match theirs. Rushing conversations or jumping topics can create dissonance. Follow their rhythm, allowing pauses and silences to breathe. This patience respects their processing speed and emotional flow. Nonverbal cues are critical in energy calibration. Mirroring gestures, facial expressions, and breathing patterns subtly communicates alignment. When done naturally, this builds unconscious trust. However, be cautious not to imitate in a way that feels forced or insincere, as this can backfire. Technology offers new challenges for energy matching. Online communication lacks many physical cues, so tone and timing become even more important. Pay attention to the person's written style, response time, and choice of words. Adjust your digital energy accordingly by matching formality, warmth, or brevity. Adjusting energy is also a way to influence others positively. When you bring calm, confidence, or enthusiasm, you can help shift the atmosphere and mood. This leadership is a powerful tool for connection and understanding. It requires discipline to manage your own emotional state before attempting to influence others. Developing this skill requires practice and mindfulness. Regularly reflect on your interactions and how energy alignment affected outcomes. Notice when mismatches caused friction or when tuning in created breakthroughs. Use these insights to refine your sensitivity and response. Self-care supports your ability to adjust energy effectively. When you are well-rested, emotionally balanced, and centered, you have more flexibility to adapt. Neglecting your own well-being makes it harder to connect authentically and can lead to burnout. Energy adjustment is not a manipulation, but a respectful tuning. It honors the person's current experience without trying to change or control it prematurely. This respect lays the groundwork for authentic dialogue and understanding. This skill enhances not only personal relationships, but professional ones as well. Leaders, teachers, and anyone working with people benefit greatly from the ability to match and modulate energy. It improves communication, teamwork, and conflict resolution. Cultivating energy awareness deepens your overall emotional intelligence. You become more attuned to the subtle shifts in yourself and others. This heightened sensitivity enriches every interaction and builds stronger, more resilient connections. When you adjust your energy to meet others, you invite them to reveal their true selves. This openness accelerates trust and fosters meaningful exchanges. It transforms communication from mere information sharing to genuine connection. Practicing energy adjustment daily sharpens your intuition and responsiveness. Pay attention to moods in conversations and environment. Experiment with subtle changes in your tone, posture, or pace. Observe the effects and learn from feedback. In moments of tension, consciously shifting your energy can de-escalate conflicts. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or aggression, adopt calm assurance. This presence often invites others to mirror your steadiness and opens space for resolution. Energy matching also enhances your ability to read unspoken feelings. When you feel attuned, emotional undercurrents become clearer. This insight enables timely and compassionate responses that deepen understanding. Ultimately, adjusting your energy is a form of respect and empathy in action. It requires discipline to be flexible and humility to set aside your own state temporarily. These qualities cultivate mastery over your relationships and communication. Mastering energy adjustment accelerates your capacity to understand anyone instantly. It bridges emotional gaps and builds rapport effortlessly. This practice is a cornerstone of authentic connection and lifelong personal growth. Chapter 17. Track changes in posture to read emotional shifts. Reading another person's emotional state is a skill that can be greatly enhanced by paying close attention to their posture. Posture is an unspoken language that communicates feelings and shifts in mood before words are even uttered. When you learn to track changes in posture, you gain the ability to recognize emotional shifts quickly and accurately. This awareness enables you to respond with empathy and insight, deepening your understanding of others in every interaction. People rarely control their posture consciously. Instead, it naturally adjusts in response to how they feel physically and emotionally. For example, someone feeling confident may stand tall with shoulders back and chest open, while a person experiencing anxiety might hunch forward, cross their arms, or avoid eye contact. These physical cues offer immediate insight into what someone is experiencing internally. Tracking posture means observing more than just static positions. It involves noticing movement, subtle shifts, and contrasts in how a person carries themselves across time. A change in posture often signals a change in emotion or thought. For instance, if someone initially sits relaxed but then suddenly stiffens or leans away, it can indicate discomfort or defensiveness. Noticing these transitions helps you catch emotional shifts in real time. Posture is linked to the body's nervous system and can reveal stress or relaxation. Tense muscles, clenched fists, or rigid backs often point to underlying anxiety, frustration, or guardedness. Conversely, relaxed limbs, slow breathing, and open stances typically suggest calmness and receptivity. Recognizing these signals provides a foundation for understanding what a person might not say verbally. Facial expressions and vocal tone are important, but posture adds a deeper layer of emotional context. Someone may smile politely while their body tells a different story through crossed arms or a turned torso. Tracking these contradictions helps you identify mixed feelings or concealed emotions. Pay attention to how posture changes during different topics or moments in a conversation. When discussing certain subjects, a person may slump, lean forward, or shift uncomfortably, revealing emotional triggers or areas of vulnerability. These changes are clues that guide your response and deepen your empathy. Mirroring shifts in posture can build rapport and trust. When you subtly adjust your own stance to reflect the other person's emotional state, you signal connection and understanding. This nonverbal synchrony fosters a sense of safety and encourages openness. Tracking posture also requires awareness of cultural differences. Consistent observation sharpens your ability to detect patterns in how someone expresses emotions through posture. Some people habitually adopt defensive postures when stressed, while others may become more expansive or animated. Knowing these tendencies helps you anticipate emotional shifts and respond effectively. Posture changes can also reveal shifts in confidence or engagement. Leaning in and maintaining an upright stance typically show interest and alertness. Slouching or turning away often signals disengagement or discomfort. Tracking these movements guides your interaction, allowing you to adjust your approach accordingly. Recognizing emotional shifts through posture enables you to intervene compassionately when someone is struggling. Noticing signs of withdrawal or distress early allows you to offer support or create space for difficult emotions. This attentiveness demonstrates care and builds trust. Training yourself to observe posture requires focused attention and practice. Start by watching people in everyday settings, meetings, social gatherings, or casual conversations. Notice how their posture changes as the mood or topic changes. Reflect on what those changes might indicate about their emotional state. Avoid making snap judgments based solely on one posture. Emotional expression is complex and context-dependent. Combine posture observation with other cues such as facial expressions, tone, and content of speech for a fuller understanding. When you track posture, remain non-judgmental. Do not label someone as closed off or defensive in a critical way. Instead, see posture as a natural response to their experience. This mindset keeps your perception clear and compassionate. Use insights from posture changes to guide your communication. If someone shows signs of discomfort, consider slowing down, softening your tone, or asking gentle questions. If they appear engaged and open, you might proceed with more direct or energetic interaction. Tracking posture also helps in conflict resolution. Detecting early signs of tension through body shifts allows you to address issues before they escalate. Your awareness can diffuse situations and foster constructive dialogue. This skill enhances leadership and teaching by enabling you to read group dynamics. Noticing how people physically respond during presentations or discussions gives you feedback on engagement and emotional climate. You can then adjust your delivery to meet the group's needs better. Maintaining your own posture is equally important. A calm, open stance invites trust and conveys confidence. People are more likely to share honestly when you project grounded presence through your body language. Reflect regularly on your observations and experiences with posture tracking. Consider keeping a journal of interactions and the posture changes you noticed. Note the outcomes and what you learned. This reflection deepens your skill and insight. Remember that posture communicates beyond conscious control, revealing authentic emotional current. Honoring these silent signals enriches your understanding and empathy, allowing you to connect on a profound level. Developing this ability takes time, but yields powerful results. You become a more perceptive listener, a compassionate friend, and a wise observer of human nature. Ultimately, tracking changes in posture is a gateway to sensing the unspoken emotional language of others. It equips you to understand people instantly and respond with kindness and clarity. This mastery elevates your personal growth and enriches every relationship you cultivate. Chapter 18. Ask follow-up questions. To go beyond surface answers. Asking follow-up questions is a vital skill that opens the door to deeper understanding and reveals truths hidden beneath surface-level answers. Many conversations remain shallow because the initial response satisfies curiosity without encouraging further exploration. To truly understand anyone instantly, mastering the art of follow-up questions is essential. It's through these inquiries that you peel back layers of meaning, motivations, and emotions, allowing you to connect on a more authentic level. Surface answers often arise because people protect themselves, avoid vulnerability, or simply do not reflect deeply on the question. When someone answers quickly and briefly, it may feel like the conversation is complete, but it's only the beginning. Following up gently invites them to elaborate, clarify, and reveal more of their true experience. This process builds trust and signals that you are genuinely interested in their thoughts and feelings. Effective follow-up questions are clear and purposeful. They should guide the person to expand their perspective without feeling interrogated or pressured. Phrases like, "Can you tell me more about that?" or "What made you feel that way?" encourage reflection and elaboration. These questions show respect and create a safe space for deeper dialogue. Listening attentively to the first answer is crucial before asking your follow-up. The best questions arise naturally from what the person has just shared. This attentiveness demonstrates that you value their voice and want to understand their story fully. It also ensures your questions are relevant and meaningful rather than generic or disconnected. Follow-up questions should explore feelings, reasons, and consequences. Asking "How did that affect you?" or "What was going through your mind then?" shifts the conversation from facts to emotions and motivation. This shift deepens understanding because emotions often drive behaviors and decisions more than the facts alone. Avoid leading questions that suggest what the answer should be. Instead, ask open-ended questions that allow the person to express themselves honestly. For example, instead of "You were upset because of that, right?" ask "How did that situation impact you?" Open questions empower the speaker and prevent defensiveness. Be patient with silence after asking a follow-up. People often need a moment to think before responding more deeply. Resist the urge to fill the silence or rush to another question. This pause respects their process and often leads to richer answers. Sometimes follow-up questions reveal contradictions or complexities. A person might say one thing, but their tone or body language suggests something different. Gently probing with questions like "What do you think caused that difference?" helps uncover layers of meaning and ambiguity, fostering a nuanced understanding. Recognize when a follow-up question may feel too personal or intrusive. Gauge the other person's comfort level and be ready to step back if needed. Respecting boundaries while encouraging openness creates trust over time. Follow-up questions also serve to clarify and confirm understanding. Paraphrasing the response and asking "Did I get that right?" or "What I'm hearing is," invites correction or further detail. This practice avoids misunderstandings and shows humility. Using follow-up questions builds rapport because it shifts the focus from yourself to the other person. It expresses curiosity and empathy, key ingredients for connection. People feel valued when their experiences are honored with genuine interest. Practicing this skill requires conscious effort. In daily conversations, notice when you accept initial answers and when you prompt for more detail. Reflect on how deeper questions change the quality of your interactions. Over time, follow-up questions will become second nature. Different contexts call for different types of follow-up questions. In professional settings, they can uncover hidden challenges, priorities, or insights. In personal relationships, they reveal emotions, fears, and desires. Tailor your questions thoughtfully to suit the situation. Avoid jumping to solutions or advice immediately after a surface answer. Instead, use follow-up questions to fully understand the issue first. This patience often leads to more effective help and meaningful support. Recognize that asking follow-up questions is a sign of humility. It acknowledges that you don't have all the answers and that the other person's perspective is valuable. This openness enriches your worldview and deepens your relationships. Follow-up questions can also help resolve conflicts by uncovering underlying concerns or unmet needs. Asking "What would help you feel heard?" or "Can you explain what's most important to you here?" redirects conversations toward mutual understanding. Sometimes people answer superficially because they are unsure of their own feelings or thoughts. Follow-up questions act as a mirror that encourages self-reflection. This process can be healing and empowering for the speaker. Mastering follow-up questions sharpens your emotional intelligence. You become more skilled at reading between the lines, sensing unspoken truths, and navigating complex emotions. This insight makes you a more compassionate communicator. Practice balancing between curiosity and respect. Not every response requires a follow-up. Learn to discern when deeper exploration adds value and when it may overwhelm or exhaust the other person. Cultivating this skill transforms everyday conversations into opportunities for growth and connection. It turns routine exchanges into meaningful dialogues that reveal the richness of human experience. Asking thoughtful follow-up questions empowers you to understand people instantly. It breaks down walls, builds bridges, and invites authenticity. This ability strengthens your influence and deepens your impact in all areas of life. Over time, your questions will become more intuitive and your listening more attuned. This synergy creates powerful communication that fosters trust, clarity, and transformation. Every interaction is a chance to practice. Approach each conversation with a mindset of discovery and kindness. Your willingness to go beyond the surface honors the humanity in everyone you meet. The true art of understanding lies in the questions you ask after the first answer. These follow-ups unlock the door to genuine connection and lasting insight. Chapter 19. Recognize emotional triggers that shape human reactions. Every human reaction is colored and often intensified by emotional triggers rooted deep within their experiences. Recognizing these triggers offers a powerful pathway to understanding why people respond the way they do, and helps you navigate relationships with greater compassion and clarity. Emotional triggers are automatic responses, sometimes unconscious, that connect present situations to past wounds or fears. They shape reactions far beyond the surface of what is immediately visible. These triggers do not just cause feelings but influence behaviors, choices, and even the tone of interactions. When someone is triggered, their emotional system shifts rapidly, activating defense mechanisms like anger, withdrawal, or anxiety. Recognizing this process allows you to see beyond the reaction and into the core of what truly affects the person. Triggers can arise from a variety of sources, including past trauma, childhood conditioning, societal pressures, or unmet needs. What causes one person distress might be insignificant to another. This variability makes emotional triggers deeply personal and complex. To understand someone instantly, you must appreciate this uniqueness and avoid generalizing or labeling reactions without context. Observing sudden shifts in emotion or behavior can signal a trigger at work. For instance, a calm conversation may suddenly become tense if a sensitive topic arises. Noticing these shifts and acknowledging them mentally helps you avoid misunderstandings or escalating conflict. It creates space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Learning to recognize emotional triggers involves keen attention to patterns. Repeated reactions to certain words, situations, or behaviors often reveal underlying sensitivities. Tracking these patterns over time provides insight into what consistently challenges or wounds a person. This knowledge guides you in adjusting your communication to avoid unnecessary pain or defensiveness. Triggers can be subtle or intense. Sometimes a slight change in tone or body language is enough to unsettle someone. Other times, major issues such as betrayal or rejection provoke overwhelming responses. Understanding the spectrum of triggers improves your ability to gauge the severity and tailor your approach accordingly. Responding wisely to emotional triggers requires patience and emotional self-control. When you recognize someone is triggered, avoid dismissing their feelings or reacting with frustration. Instead, validate their experience by listening attentively and showing empathy. Simple acknowledgments like "I see this is upsetting you" can de-escalate tension and build trust. Recognizing triggers also helps protect your own emotional balance. When another person's reaction is disproportionate, you can remind yourself that their response stems from their inner wounds rather than your actions. This perspective reduces personalizing and maintains your composure. Triggers often connect to fundamental human needs, such as safety, respect, and belonging. When these needs feel threatened, emotional alarms go off. Understanding this helps you frame reactions not as attacks but as signals of unmet needs. This shift fosters compassion rather than judgment. Effective communication around triggers involves gentle curiosity. If appropriate, ask questions that invite reflection, such as, "What about this is difficult for you?" or "Can you share what you need right now?" These inquiries promote self-awareness and open pathways for healing and understanding. Sometimes recognizing your own triggers improves your ability to identify them in others. Self-reflection and mindfulness increase emotional intelligence, making you more attuned to the emotional landscapes of those you interact with. This dual awareness strengthens connections and deepens empathy. Avoiding triggers is not always possible or healthy. Sometimes confronting painful issues is necessary for growth. When triggers surface, supporting someone through their emotional response with patience and care can facilitate breakthrough and resilience. In moments of high emotion, non-verbal supports, such as a calm tone, relaxed posture, or a reassuring presence, can soothe triggered responses. This calmness acts as an anchor, helping the other person regain control over their feelings. Recognizing emotional triggers also improves conflict resolution. Understanding why a person reacts defensively or aggressively allows you to address root causes rather than just symptoms. This insight shifts conversations from blame to problem solving. In group dynamics, being aware of triggers helps manage tensions and create a safer space. Leaders and facilitators who can sense when individuals feel vulnerable can intervene with empathy, setting a tone of respect and inclusion. Noticing when someone tries to hide or suppress their triggers is important. Avoiding emotions often leads to passive-aggressive behavior or withdrawal. Encouraging open expression in a safe environment reduces this hidden tension and builds authenticity. Triggers shape not only emotional reactions, but also decision-making processes. A person may reject opportunities or ideas that unconsciously remind them of past pain. Recognizing this helps you understand resistance and approach conversations with sensitivity. Cultivating awareness of emotional triggers requires mindfulness. Regularly check in with your observations and feelings during interactions. Notice when you or others feel unsettled and explore possible trigger points without rushing to conclusion. Remember that everyone carries emotional baggage. Meeting people with acceptance rather than expectation creates space for genuine understanding and healing. Recognizing triggers does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but understanding its origin. This balance allows you to set boundaries while maintaining empathy. Over time, your ability to identify triggers becomes an invaluable tool for emotional navigation. You learn to read beyond words and actions to the emotional truths beneath. This skill enhances relationships by reducing misunderstandings and increasing compassion. It transforms conflict into connection and reaction into response. By seeing emotional triggers clearly, you gain insight into the complex human psyche. This clarity empowers you to engage with others in a way that is respectful and transformative. Ultimately, recognizing emotional triggers is a practice of humility and patience. It invites you to slow down, observe deeply, and respond with wisdom. Mastery of this skill enriches your personal growth and opens the door to truly understanding anyone instantly. It fosters peace within yourself and harmony in your relationship. Chapter 20. Stay calm when others project their inner chaos. People often carry inner turmoil that they may not fully understand or control, and sometimes this chaos spills outward in the form of anger, frustration, or confusion directed at those around them. Staying calm when others project their inner chaos is a vital skill that protects your peace and allows you to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. It requires discipline, emotional resilience, and a deep understanding of human nature. When someone projects their inner chaos onto you, it is important to remember that their behavior is a reflection of their internal state, not a judgment or attack on you personally. Recognizing this distinction creates a mental barrier that shields you from absorbing their emotional turbulence. This awareness prevents the situation from escalating and helps you maintain control over your own responses. Maintaining calm begins with grounding yourself in the present moment. Focus on your breath and posture and remind yourself that you can choose your reaction. This practice develops emotional stability and reduces the risk of becoming overwhelmed by the other person's intensity. It also communicates a quiet strength that can subtly influence the chaotic energy around you. Listening with compassion without immediately defending or arguing diffuses tension. When someone is projecting their inner chaos, their need is often to be heard and understood rather than contradicted. Offering your presence without judgment provides a safe space that can help them feel less isolated in their struggle. This does not mean accepting harmful behavior, but responding from a place of steadiness. Setting clear personal boundaries is essential. Staying calm does not require tolerating disrespect or abuse. You can maintain your composure while firmly communicating limits. For example, calmly stating, "I want to understand you, but cannot do so when you speak this way," asserts control without escalating conflict. Boundaries protect your energy and model respectful communication. Recognize that chaos projected outward often masks vulnerability and pain. Seeing this beneath the surface shifts your perspective from irritation to empathy. This understanding softens your response and opens the door to connection instead of confrontation. Avoid taking on responsibility for someone else's emotions. Their inner chaos belongs to them, and you are not obligated to fix or absorb it. Detaching in this way preserves your emotional health and clarifies your role in the interaction. Responding with calmness can have a grounding effect on the other person. Your steady demeanor may invite them to mirror your composure, creating an opportunity for de-escalation and more constructive dialogue. This influence is subtle but powerful. Practice patience when faced with projection. Chaos rarely resolves instantly, and people may cycle through intense emotions multiple times. Your calm persistence signals that you are a reliable presence, not a source of further disturbance. In situations where the projection is intense or persistent, it can be helpful to physically distance yourself if possible. This break allows you to recharge and approach the situation later with renewed calm and clarity. Knowing when to step back is part of emotional wisdom. Self-care practices support your ability to remain calm amid others' chaos. Regularly engaging in mindfulness, exercise, and restful activities strengthens your emotional resilience. A well-tended inner state is less vulnerable to external turbulence. Avoid matching the other person's energy or becoming reactive. This escalation usually leads to conflict rather than resolution. Instead, focus on grounding techniques such as slow breathing, mindful observation, or silently repeating calming phrases. Reflect on your own triggers and vulnerabilities. Sometimes the chaos projected by others can activate your hidden wounds. Awareness of your emotional landscape allows you to recognize when you are being drawn into their storm and consciously choose to remain steady. Use your calmness to ask clarifying questions that encourage reflection rather than defensiveness. Questions like, "What's most important to you right now?" or "Can you help me understand what you're feeling?" invite the other person to shift from reactive projection to thoughtful expression. Recognize when projection is a form of communication signaling unmet needs or distress. Responding with calm attentiveness rather than judgment increases the chance that the person will open up more honestly. Developing this skill enhances your leadership and interpersonal effectiveness. People are drawn to calmness and reliability, especially during turbulent times. Your ability to hold space without reacting impulsively builds respect and trust. Stay mindful that your calm does not mean suppressing your emotions. Healthy emotional expression within yourself strengthens your capacity to remain composed externally. This balance between inner authenticity and outward calm creates genuine presence. Accept that you cannot control others' inner chaos, only your response to it. This acceptance frees you from frustration and futile efforts to change what is beyond your influence. Practice visualizing yourself as a calm center amid a storm. This imagery strengthens your mental fortitude and prepares you for real-life encounters with emotional projections. Engage in role-playing exercises or mindfulness practices that simulate stressful interaction. Training in controlled environments builds your confidence and skill for staying calm in actual situations. Remember that calmness is not passive, but a powerful form of engagement. It allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally, transforming potential conflict into opportunity. Your calm presence can inspire others to seek peace within themselves. Sometimes the example you set is the most effective teaching. Reflect regularly on your experiences staying calm amid others' chaos. Note what strategies work best and where you can improve. This ongoing self-awareness deepens your mastery. Understanding that inner chaos is part of the human condition fosters patience and compassion. You meet others where they are rather than where you wish them to be. Ultimately, staying calm when others project their inner chaos is a practice of self-mastery. It requires discipline, empathy, and emotional intelligence. This skill strengthens your relationships and protects your well-being. It allows you to navigate the complexities of human interaction with wisdom and grace. By cultivating calm in the face of external turmoil, you become a beacon of steadiness and understanding. This presence is a profound gift both to yourself and those around you.